coming up on this episode.
And like, I don't know, I was so nervous about it. And I remember I did it. And then I got back to my chair and I was like, oh, nobody gives a shit. Nobody is literally, no one here cares about me at all. Like I'm less than nothing to them. Like I'm not even worth their time to like dislike. You know, it's like,
yikes. No one caring about you? Sounds depressing, right? Well, maybe not. In this episode, Humzah shares how realizing that no one really gives a shit about you actually gave him the freedom to pursue his biggest dream. It's inspiring stuff. This episode's guest is my good friend and fellow comedian Humzah Chaudhry. He's insightful, introspective, and hilarious. This is a cool episode, and we just hope you all have as much fun listening to it as we had making it. Let's get it started. I'm Cody Troutman, and this is my podcast, the Cody Trout Pod.
Cody Trout Pod.
Yeah, I do like that intro. I have videos of me recording the intro.
Yeah.
Like I'm not the most gifted when it comes to rhythm and timing.
Yeah.
And like I have to say it on those beats because my friend is the one that made the whole, like we made it from scratch and everything. And we have a lot of outtakes of me like they're directing me, like just videos on a phone of them like pointing at me like, ready, Cody Trout Pod. Damn it, no! Like, so there's a lot of good outtakes of that I should post at some point. Like I have a lot of stuff that I've saved over the, I guess not over the years, over the months of doing this that I think would be really funny to post at some point.
Oh,
like here's where we started, here's where we're going. But
outtakes.
Unfortunately, with how busy it's been like at work and me not wanting to sacrifice like stage time and writing time for stand-up, I haven't got to like put out as much podcast stuff as I want. So I got to find
the balance.
Balance,
balance, dude.
But I was going to show you this. This is really random, but because he's a New York City guy. Have you ever heard of, I think his name's Jerry Seinfeld. You ever heard of that guy?
I've heard rumblings of him.
He's an up-and-comer.
Yeah.
Just check him out. No, there was... I like a really scientific approach to stuff, and he has like the most scientific approach to joke writing. Yeah. He's like very structured in his mind. There's like a right way and a wrong way to do it. Yeah. And he said that he wrote every joke with like a Bic clear barrel hexagonal ballpoint pen, and so I bought like a 50-pack of them. Really? And I'm like, this is gonna do
That's where the jokes are. They're in the pen. The jokes are inside of it.
And so that's why I have those pens. I was like, I'm never gonna write with anything else. I'm like, my man Jerry Seinfeld.
Did you listen to his Tim Ferriss? Is that where he?
That might have been it. It was one of his like longer form interview podcast things. Yeah. I went through a stretch where I just like got obsessed with Jerry Seinfeld, and I watched all his stuff. Yep. And, you know,
my notepads that I write in are the same ones BJ Novak writes in.
Really? What does he use?
I don't know what they're called. My girlfriend at the time bought them for me. She like listened to it and she bought them for me so I could like write. At the time.
It's over.
It's currently over.
Currently,
you know, there's always room for a comeback. You know, like a return. Like a part 2, a sequel.
That makes me think, did you see, he made a movie recently called Vengeance. Did you watch that? It like just came out.
BJ Novak. No, I haven't watched it. The one in Texas.
Yeah.
You watch it?
Yes, I went and saw it like less than a week ago. And I apparently, I don't know, I know that he wrote it and I think he directed it as well.
Yeah.
Like he did the whole thing, which, I mean, you know, I know how hard it is for me to write like 1 minute of stand-up, but like for him to make a fucking movie is crazy.
Some people, they just like, when they go, it's just like incredible.
That is amazing.
How was the movie?
I thought it was good. It wasn't like mind-blowing, but I thought it was funny, and it actually had a pretty interesting mystery.
Gotcha.
And there was a lot. It tried to say a lot.
Yeah.
Like it wanted to be like a very deeply meaningful
gotcha
movie. And I think it did have some pretty good meaning, like without spoiling anything.
Yeah.
It's like he's trying to like break into, he wants to have a voice. Like he wants to be like, you know, a podcaster, writer, person in New York City.
Yeah.
And his name's Humzah Chaudhry. And so he wants to capture like some incredible story. And so a lot of the conversations that he has with other characters are about like, what is the meaning of America? Or like, what is the meaning of people? Why do we do what we do?
Yeah.
And some of the stuff is like fairly profound and pretty articulate. And then some of it is a little like, esoteric and like self-indulgent.
Yeah,
in a
it's a
way.
little self-righteous.
Yeah, it comes across
dude, that's
like
what people, dude, it's so hard to, yeah, whenever that happens, you're just like, come on, man, you're a Hollywood guy.
yeah,
like,
it's very, but I thought for the most part, it did a pretty good job of, like, what was interesting is like the first, because he goes to Texas, and this isn't giving anything away, but obviously,
Spoil it.
he gets murdered. No, there is a death though, but which is kind of the point of the whole movie. That's revealed very early. But he goes to Texas, and the family that he's staying with in Texas is like very stereotypical, dumb Southern Texan, and it makes it like it kind of shits on him for a little bit. But then by the halfway point of the movie, it shows that they have a lot of redeeming qualities. They're really good people, and by the end of the movie, like you respect a lot about them, even though they are still kind of
they're good
just
people.
And so I thought that was good because I've seen a lot of times where
There's
like Southern people are
dude, when I tell people I'm from Oklahoma, dude, it's so, I'm like, dude, we're not that.
Yeah, I love if I can spoil one of your jokes.
Yeah,
we can cut this.
No, burn it.
One of your jokes is where you talk about like, I'm from Oklahoma, we all look like this. Like, I love that joke,
dude. Because there's a bunch of comedians, at least in New York, that are like, I know I look like blah blah blah. Yeah. Do you get that a lot here?
Everybody has a joke. Like every open micer, I feel like, has a joke.
I feel like it's like an entry level joke because like I know I look like wow or whatever, you know.
My first like joke that ever got any laughs, and I still do parts of it because I haven't written enough good material to get rid of it, is like about being half Mexican, and I know I don't look it, you know.
Yeah. But that's important. Like that's important, I think, to describe you.
Yeah, it's like eventually like that is material that it does well because I've tightened it up to like a know it's probably I've spent the most time on it, but as soon as I get enough material that's good, like that's what I want to ditch because it's just like so obvious. Yeah,
but that joke though, like I don't know, because I used to do, like, somebody once told me it was like a roast, and he was like, "You look like you wrote the Pornhub algorithm." That's what somebody.
That's pretty good.
So that's pretty good.
That is pretty
good. And I
thought
about using that, and then I was like, no, I just want to, like, I don't know. It's nice to do it the opposite way, I guess.
Yeah.
Where it's just like so clearly a lie. Yeah. That it's like, okay, now we're both in on the joke, you know? I
think you have a lot, like, all of your material is really good. And I like you had the tone of it is, I described it to you the other day where it's like you're making an observation and you're almost talking to the audience in like an inside joke kind of way. Like, here's something I observed. This is what I think about it. Like, I'm not crazy, right? Yeah. You guys see that this is insane? Yeah. Like, I love that tone where you're like, this is insane, right? And the audience is like, that is insane. Yeah. You know, like, I think that's a really, like, so many of your bits are structured that way, and I think it's really funny. Yeah. My favorite is to try and write a joke where it's like, you don't say the joke. Oh, okay. Like, they figure it out. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, in their head. Like, when I'm like, I'm from Oklahoma, this is what everyone looks like. Like, that's like the joke is that nobody, you know, like I stand out, right? But it's like it's not like the next line is like, I'm kidding, guys. Yeah, exactly. Or it's just like you let that click in their head. Yeah. And I feel like that's my favorite type of like writing. Where it's like you're like saying it but not saying it. I think you have a very distinct voice within your comedic writing, and I think that's impressive because that's hard to do. Like that joke I was telling you about, like where I'm like, I'm half Mexican, I know I don't look it. Mm. I've tried to like put different tags there, and one I've tried in different ways is like, you know, like because obviously I look white, and so I'm like, I know I'm half Mexican, I don't look it, I look black. You know? And so and it just for like to me, like I think it's really funny, and it just every time I would watch it back on tape, I was like, "That's so." Yeah, it's funny, but it's like it's a little jarring. You're just like, wait, why do you bring that up? Why do you bring that up? Like, what happens next? It's like he's mentioned 3 races in the first 15 seconds. Like this is going to a terrible place. Where does this go next, dude? You're Mexican like a flour tortilla. That's kind of what you are. Exactly. Like corn tortillas are the authentic tortilla. I think, at least. I don't really know. You know what? I don't even know either. That would be something that I would ask my relatives. I know that we have corn tortillas every time we go to their house. They do. That's what I'm saying. I feel like corn is like the authentic one, but flour is better, dude. I'm trying to think. I think I like them on different things.
That's
honestly.
true. That is true.
Like on like a street taco or something like that, a corn tortilla is perfect. But then for like
whenever you just are broke and you're just putting shredded cheese inside of it, flour.
That's perfect. Or like if it's a big juicy burrito, I think a flour tortilla is perfect.
Gotta go flour.
That's perfect. Let me see. So for anybody that isn't familiar with our lovely guest today, his name's Humzah Chowdhury. Am I saying your last name right? I've never even asked you that.
Yeah, Chowdhury.
Chowdhury. Okay.
Yeah.
Humzah Chowdhury. That's it. Humzah Chowdhury. He is originally from Oklahoma, now a New York City-based comedian.
Correct.
And just recently, now I'm going to get the verbiage wrong, but since I know you wouldn't brag on yourself, I got to do it. You recently got, I don't know what the terminology is. You basically auditioned at one of the different comedy clubs.
Yeah.
They liked you, and so they're giving you paid spots on their paid shows at the comedy club.
So
which is a big deal in the New York City scene.
It was exciting. It's not nothing. It's not nothing. It's definitely a step in the right direction. But like, essentially, like Broadway Comedy Club has like a bringer show, which bringer shows are tough to deal with, but it's a part of the New York City scene. So,
because we don't have any of those here, is that like where you literally just have to bring audience members to get stage time?
So like everyone brings like, I think this one was like 5 people, and like my mom was in town and my brother lives there, so that was like half the people. My sister was there. It was like super easy.
Your sister's a great audience.
She's a great dude. Literally on the tape, I can hear her laughing. Like I distinctly know which voice is hers.
She's got a great laugh.
She's a very loud person. That's what Cody said.
That's the best though. Like you want somebody that, like if I ever have friends come to a show, I tell them, I'm like, okay, listen, generous laughter during, feedback after.
Yep.
Like
that's a great motto. Generous feedback during. Yeah. So yeah, I did that, and it's like, dude, it's a tough show because it's like 20 people, and like everybody's doing 5 minutes, so it's just like comic after comic after comic after comic.
Those can get rough,
dude. So tough. Fortunately, I went like 6th or 7th.
That's good,
which is the perfect spot.
Yeah. Because you want them to be warmed up a little bit, but if you go too late, everybody, including the comics, is like, we're ready to get the fuck out of here.
And most people are just there to see one person. So like when you're not that person, it's like you kind of early on, it's not bad, but later in the show, it's like you kind of got to like really win them over.
I wonder, is there any sort of like art of war going on where they're there for that person, so they're intentionally going to not laugh at other people?
I'm sure there's some people who do that. Maybe like the other comics that show up for their comic friend.
Okay.
But I don't think there's anything. Although I did notice some people were like harder to make laugh. But I don't know if that's because they weren't my friend, or like I remember visually seeing a lady in the front who like wasn't laughing in like the first 2 jokes. Yeah. And then finally with the 3rd joke, I was like, all right, cool.
Nice.
Like, cause I couldn't fix, I don't know. I'm like a weirdo, dude. Like I like was like fixating on it. I was like, why isn't she laughing? So then whenever I like hit my 3rd punchline, I was like looking, I like made sure she like laughed.
If she didn't laugh at that one, you stopped the show, like, ma'am.
I was going to call her out, dude. I was going to be like, ma'am, are you all right? Do you need to, I don't know.
Okay. So when you see, this is like a short aside, when you see like a headliner or somebody like call out specific audience members for not laughing or like berate the audience. Yeah. Is that, to me, that seems like it cannot go well. Like it can't lead to a good outcome.
My thing is it's your job to make them laugh. It's not their job to laugh, you know? And I've seen people do it, but it's like, I think it can be done tactfully. Yeah. And I think pro comics are better at doing it tactfully than I would be.
It's so hard. Like I've never seen it done well. Like I've seen maybe some YouTube clips of it.
Yeah.
Like because the ones that are going viral are like, it works.
Yep, exactly.
You know, like Bill Burr rants on Philadelphia, something like that.
Exactly.
But I've seen it attempted in person numerous times. Yeah. And it never goes well. Yeah. And I just don't understand what the goal is.
It's always, I try not to be combative with people. Yeah. Because it's like, dude, if I'm not funny to you, that's fine. But then you should just go. Yeah. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe they're waiting on their friend.
I remember I did a show, I think it was just last week. It was before, because we did 2 shows together. It was before that, where I was telling I have some jokes about like different methods of birth control, and they're just jokes about like the methods themselves. Like like I do, like you've seen the act out where I pretend to be an IUD. Like,
Yeah.
I really like that joke.
Yeah.
I think it's silly. I don't think it's particularly
It's
great.
like with a samurai knife or something, right? Or it's like swatting at the door.
Yeah, like I have the, I pose and like pretend like I'm fighting sperm cells. And there was this table. There was like 7 people there total. Yeah. And a table of 3, when I started doing that, stood up and a guy said out loud, "All right, that's enough for me." And the show had 5 comics, and I was second. Ooh. And I was like, "Damn!" I just walked half the audience.
Dude, it happens. It happens to everyone.
Shit. And I'm still trying to find like the line of like how physical to be, how not like, and that bit's like it's okay. It's not great, you know. But I do like it, and so. Like I had to do 15 or 20 minutes or whatever. So you gotta
keep going.
Yeah. It's like you can't just do like 3 minutes of good jokes. And I remember thinking to myself, you were mentioning before we started recording, like stuff being embarrassing. I was like, damn, there's nothing that hurts worse than like a really big act out, really bombing.
Yeah.
Like,
dude, because
really
you put yourself out there, dude. It's like, not only am I on stage, I'm performing now. Like,
and I remember, like, I was like, wow, like, because I don't get embarrassed very much at all. Yeah. But in that moment, I was like, oh. I was like, wow, that's not. And it's not like we're in an arena where they're 50 feet away.
Yeah.
It's an empty bar on a weeknight. The guy's 3 feet from me.
Yeah. Dude, that's like rejection from like asking a girl out. That's what that is. Like you go take your shot. And the way
you asked her out was like you hired a mariachi band. Like it wasn't like you just said, hey, want to go to dinner?
Yeah.
You did the promposal.
Yeah. It's like the stadium proposal. She just walks out like, nah.
Oh man.
There's an audience seeing you get. Yeah, dude, it's tough.
That was it. But so you got like what is it called? Like accepted book.
So it was like
the Broadway.
I wanted to mention 2 things. One, so they have like a pro comic like host it, which mine was Troy Bond. Which I was gonna say you were talking about Seinfeld. Have you seen the Seinfeld OnlyFans thing?
No.
It's like an Instagram reel or something or a TikTok. He does this impression of like the Seinfeld people talking about OnlyFans. You'll love it.
Oh my god!
I'll send it to you, Troy Bond. You can just look up OnlyFans.
That
Seinfeld.
show would do really good with a lot of like the current society's idiosyncrasies.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's and he was hosting the show.
He was hosting the show.
That's pretty cool,
dude. I was worried because the girl before me, not gonna say any names. You know what? The person before me, sorry, just bombed, dude. Like literally sucked the air out of the room.
Oh no!
Like I was super worried because it's like the show's rolling or whatever.
Yeah.
But then he went up there and like did a minute. And I was like, oh, that's professional hosting.
That's really smart.
Like I could just tell he literally before he's like, I'm going to do a minute before you get on. And I was like, okay, thank you. And he like kind of brought it back up. So then it was easy to do.
Okay. That intrigues me. So did he go up there and like riff about what was going on, or he went up there and did a minute of like material?
He did a minute of material. Because what just happened, he wasn't going to like, shit on the last comic.
Yeah.
But
I got shit on by a host one. I'll have to tell you about that.
No, tell me now.
Well, so I got to do a guest spot for
a
national headliner.
Okay.
And like, I won't say which, I don't want anybody, our 30 listeners, they have a lot of power. All right. They're dedicated people. But I did a guest spot for a national headliner, and I was under the impression that, listen, it was whether it was the material being bad or me choosing the wrong jokes to tell at that juncture, I just didn't do well. Like,
yeah,
I just went up there, bombed. It was not good.
Yeah.
And I just felt not only like, a little embarrassed, a little frustrated, all those things, but like, also like I had let down the people that gave me the chance to perform in front of like a big audience and on like a big stage. I'm like, God damn it. Like, I don't know when that'll happen again. And the host gets up there and he's like, the first thing he says is, wow, y'all fucking hated that. And it like the room erupts in laughter. And then he spends 45 seconds just trashing my jokes, like revisiting the different beats that I tried to hit and like making fun of the jokes. And the room is rolling. I mean, they're laughing. And I was like, fuck. I was like, holy shit.
That's so tough. That's so tough to hear because you're the one on it. But there's something so important about comedy, about just like saying what is happening.
Yeah, like acknowledging
it, calling out the room, just like being present and like saying exactly what people are thinking.
Yeah.
Which like, I mean, I like your jokes, so like I wasn't there, but like if you bombed, it's like, yeah, you got to say it.
Yeah.
You can't go there and be like, all right, well, good job from the last comic. Hey, that guy's real up and running. Like, what the fuck? What's going on?
A local heavy hitter, you know? If you liked him, he's headlining tomorrow.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember the feature actually did something really nice, which he didn't have to do. I'm trying to remember his last name. His name's John.
Yeah, last name's important.
Yeah, because that's a pretty common one. But he's this bald guy with a beard. I don't remember his last name. That's really. I'll have to reference it. You know what?
John
Carden. I was going to say Cardinal. And
Okay.
I was like, I know it's not Cardinal because I would remember if it was a bird. So his name's John Carden. He was featuring. And like, I've just bombed. He goes up there and he really crushes. Like, did really well.
Dope.
And I was like, damn, that was a really good set.
Yeah.
And so afterwards, you know, I'm just some random dude that got like a chance to do 7 minutes or whatever. You know, he's traveling with the guy doing 30 minutes. So like, there's a big level difference. He sought me out. I'm in the back of the room, you know, sulking a little bit. And he sought me out and like gave me a little pep talk, which was super nice. Like he didn't have to do that.
That, you know why he did that? Is because he's done the exact same thing that you did. I am assuming so.
Okay.
Is like he's probably been in your shoes and he's had a bad set in front of a big crowd and he's like, it's not the end.
Yeah, that's pretty much what he said. He was like, listen, man, like, he was like, you know, you're really going for it up there.
Yeah.
You know, that's like it sounded funny, you know, because it's like he's trying to think of something positive to say.
Yeah.
He's like, I can tell you care about it a lot. You're trying really hard.
Yeah.
He's like, it happens. Like, shake it off. You know, keep doing your thing. And you know, obviously, it's not like I was gonna quit or anything, but he could tell I was like bummed. Yeah, and for him to seek me out and say that when he didn't have to, and it wasn't even something he was expected to do, that was really cool. And I was like, all right, well, I was like, whatever John Carden's doing, I'm going to support that.
Yeah.
You know?
We're big John Carden fans on this.
The day after this comes out, he's convicted of first-degree murder. I'm like, well, the only thing John Carden's murdering is that crowd. So, you know, good for John.
I stand with John. No matter what.
But yeah, so... Okay. The host did a minute of material, saves the show. That is a pro move.
Yeah, pro move. I was just like, oh, that it's just like, oh, I made a mental note of that. I was like, I should have known that already. Like, of course the host will save this. Yeah. But like while I was watching the comic before me, I was like, oh, this is gonna be tough. I was like, this person's really just like came out with like an abortion joke, followed it up with like just like bad. It was tough.
Oh man. Was it so the person that went before you, like, it wasn't necessarily that their stuff was great and it was wrong room. It was just like maybe just a poorly constructed.
Like, you know, like whenever there's for some reason, I see this a lot where like people will take a subject that's like touchy and they'll just say something kind of controversial about it and expect that to be funny. Yeah. And it's like, that's not necessarily funny. Like you're saying something or like, yeah, or it's just not a good joke. It's like, if it's going to be controversial, it's got to be good.
I think where that comes from, because I know I've been tempted to go in that direction, and this is just a shot in the dark, is like if you're at an open mic, especially like a bad open mic, and there's nobody there, nobody's listening, and sometimes the only way to get them to engage is by saying something outrageous, and you mistake that reaction of like, whoa, for like, oh, the audience reacted, so I need to keep doing that and keep saying that. Yeah. And then it like tricks your mind into thinking like, oh, that's funny. Like I need to perform that. Yeah. But then you get in front of like a bigger audience at a comedy club and you say it and they're like, what the fuck? Like,
also, comics are psychopaths. Yeah. Like to make comics laugh, you kind of have to say something messed up.
That's true.
So it's like, it's like test it and like make it funny, but then like don't commit to those.
That's a good point, and I've heard that described as, I think the term I heard was like making the back of the room laugh versus like the audience.
Oh, interesting. I think
that's there was this thing on YouTube, Ralphie May did like this 2-hour like writing masterclass at the Comedy Store.
Yeah, I've listened to it a long time ago.
Yeah, it's been on YouTube for a long time, but and he talked about like jokes that were like for the back of the room versus the audience and like how you got to understand. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah. Did you listen to Ari Shafir's also?
No,
He has one on
he has a
YouTube
good one?
also, yeah.
Okay, I need to look that up.
The guy that I was telling you about that I do the radio show with
Yeah.
in Brooklyn, originally his idea was to like interview comics that are coming up in the scene rather than just like the big timers.
Yeah.
So he did some interviews with some like guys that are like have done late night and like some people
cool.
that like have been to the Cellar and like do the Cellar but aren't like national headliners.
Okay, cool.
You'd probably like that podcast.
I would a lot.
Yeah, shout out Eggs, Bacon, Grits, Sausage on Radio Free Brooklyn.
Okay, cool. I was going to say, what is the name of your radio show?
Currently, it's called Eggs, Bacon, Grits, Sausage, but we're rebranding soon probably the name is in flux.
Yeah.
I think we're going to call it Free Comedy. That's what I want to call it.
Yeah.
Free Comedy on Radio Free Brooklyn.
Okay.
Yeah,
Free
so-
comedy.
Yeah.
And then the Patreon version, paid comedy.
Yeah.
Would be the
Well,
next
so yeah, they have a cool thing. It's like this like nonprofit in Brooklyn where they just like you just sign up and I think it's like $50 an hour per month.
Oh, wow.
So we do an hour a week and it's like, or maybe it's like $25 an hour or something
And
like that.
for them to host your show?
Yeah,
or-
so we go to the studio. We have an hour. We like get on the mics,
And they have all
it's
the
just
equipment and stuff
broadcasting.
like that?
And it's just broadcasting, and
Wow.
then afterwards, they like save you and send you the audio. So
That's a pretty nice
So
setup.
that's when he puts it. Yeah, dude, it's pretty cool. I was gonna say you could turn this into that.
Yeah, I could. If
Just,
that means at my parents'
yeah,
house.
you just have like you make like a little side door. And just
Yeah.
like, yeah, come, dude. The studio's dope, dude. I like
Thank
it a
you,
lot.
man. I put a lot more like effort into it than I would like to admit, just because I knew nothing about it.
Well, that's the thing is
You know, I had
learning is
to-
so much effort.
Boy.
We used to do that in school. School was hard.
Yeah.
But like you kind of get past it and then you're done learning stuff. But like whenever you start something like this, you start over.
Yes. I remember just to learn how to work like the audio interface, the mics, the cameras, and just getting all of the audio and video synced and then into a multicam shot and then to edit it. I remember it took weeks to figure out. And
Dude,
I was
it's
like,
so hard.
and I'm looking around like, you know, there's 15-year-olds on social media posting, you know, Hollywood production level stuff. I'm like, it's possible. Like,
Yeah.
like I'm just fucking stupid. Like it can be done.
I guarantee they had the same problem.
Yeah, it's like what I had to do because I got so stuck was I had to go on different like freelancing websites and find somebody local that would let me pay them for their time to bring all my shit,
Yeah.
show them what I was trying to do,
Yeah.
show them the problem I was running into, and be like, can we fix this?
Yeah.
And, you know, luckily it was, well, I guess not luckily, but it wasn't that I just was like incapable. It was actually a fairly complex issue. So, like, to summarize it, because it is kind of interesting. I didn't even know this. You know how like each video has like a different file extension? Like
Yep.
some would be .mp4, .mov. I thought that like, you know, if you had that figured out or the right format, that was fine. But there's also something called a codex or a codec. And that's like something about how the file is encoded.
Yeah.
And I still don't fully understand it. All I know how to do is make it work with my stuff. But
Good.
basically, they're like your like editing software and your like cameras and stuff like that. If it's encoded, and it's not necessarily wrong, but like in a way that they don't understand, the way this guy described it to me, and I don't know if he was just describing this where like a novice could understand, or if this is actually a good description. He said it would be like say that my editing software like speaks English.
Yeah.
And like I have like and I've, you know, formatted everything the correct way, and it's I give my editing software a book to read.
Yeah.
And it's like the most perfectly bound book. All the language is really understandable. It's like in the right package, but the book is in Spanish.
Yeah.
Like
It's like
it still can't do it.
still can't read it.
And
yeah.
so that was and I was like, okay, I think I, you know, have at least. And so he showed me how to use like a media encoder
Yeah.
and re-encode everything. And so like there's some extra steps involved, but at least it can exist.
Whatever, dude. You got it. Hey, dude, we're live.
Yeah, we are.
We're up
Oh, I
here.
forgot to hit record. No, I'm just kidding. No, I had some stuff I wanted to ask you. Unless you had some more to add about the host.
Yeah,
at
let
the
me just
Broadway.
finish so I did
Yeah,
this
I
at
kinda
Broadway.
got us off track.
No, I think I've been avoiding because I don't like making myself sound good.
I'll make sure you do.
Yeah. We did the set. It went well.
Really well. I've seen some clips of it.
And then so afterwards they like if you do well, essentially they'll like they like gave me like a residency or like a junior residency
Yeah.
is what they called it. And so they just like throw you some spots at the club. And the guy was like, yeah, someone will be there to like, if you do well, we'll like maybe give you more, which I'm like, yeah. So, but I don't want to get my hopes up. You know? So yeah, we'll see. It's like when I get back in September. I don't know how long the spots are, but yeah, I'm excited. And
That's
it's like,
nice.
dude, just having a video from a comedy club makes you look so much more legit.
It does.
It makes you look really good. Which, yeah, that's one of the things like I feel like is really cool about doing comedy in OKC is like, you guys are like cool with the clubs.
Yeah.
Like the clubs need you. Cause like there's I mean, probably like what, like 30 to 50 comedians here.
I actually know the number. You'd be amazed. In any given month, there's 91 different comedians that will hit up. Yeah. I think it was up to like 120.
Oh, wow.
For like a little bit of like I think it was in like a 3-month period, 120 different comedians signed up for the Bricktown open mic.
Oh, interesting.
I was like, wow, that's
Are those
lot.
all from OKC? Or are that including Tulsa? Is that including people like do people come from like Lawton and stuff for that mic?
I'm sure there's some.
Yeah.
I know in Oklahoma City there's like at least 75 though.
Okay.
Because when I was thinking about it, I was like, there can't be that many. Then I started going through and like passively just when I would look at the list, I'm like, damn, there is a lot of different people.
That's good.
And so, but I bet there's like 50 to 70 that are like regularly doing it, which is, you know, kind of a lot more than you'd expect. But like you were saying, since the scene here is not huge, they kind of need those comedians around.
Exactly. Because you can't have the same, 10 comedians doing every, then people are going to be like, well, we've seen these guys.
Yeah.
And like the Bricktown Comedy Club and what's the other one?
The Looney Bin.
The Looney Bin. They're like legit stages. Like they look really good. They got the brick wall in the background.
Yeah.
And they're like nice venues. Like it's not like they're just like fitting a comedy club into some basement or whatever.
It's like a full on its own thing. It is like when I was starting out, I didn't realize like how cool it is that they have like open mics at like real comedy clubs.
Yep.
Like I'm assuming in New York City that probably doesn't like the
they
Comedy
have it
Cellar
at like 3 p.m.
Okay.
Like and the Cellar doesn't even do a mic anymore.
I was gonna say
I don't think so.
I wouldn't be surprised.
The Stand does one at like 5 p.m. and like I think Broadway does theirs at like 3 and 5 and like stuff like that. But none
do you
of them
have
are
to pay for those? Yeah. I was gonna say,
you have to pay for everything. And dude, New York City is so expensive. It's like you have to pay and then nobody listens to you, and then you just go home and you're miserable, dude.
Yeah,
it's tough. It's tough, but I do think in a way it like makes you better.
Yeah,
like there's no free laughs in open mic New York City.
That is true. So like basically like if you're trying to build a bit and all you have is like open mics with people that aren't really like paying attention, how do you judge if it's good or not? Like do you listen to it back and see how it sounds, and even if nobody's laughing you're like, oh, there might be something there?
And it's like I think I made it sound a little worse than it is, where it's like, okay, so there will be mics where like anywhere from like like 8 people to like 20 people will be there.
Yeah, that's
and like half will be listening.
Okay.
So if you can get something out of like the 4, and it's like comedians are tough laughs to begin with, they're not just giving you laughs. So it's like then you can kind of figure it out, and then you like tighten it up, or you try it a few more times the same way to like get a better idea. And then you kind of just like, I don't know, usually I have an ADD brain.
Okay.
So like I'll randomly think about a bit and just start writing it out in my head. And if it's funny, if it like makes me laugh, then I'll like write it down in my phone.
Okay.
That's usually how I go. But sometimes I like will be like, okay, I need 3 tags for this bit to make it funny.
Yeah.
That's when I'll sit down and write, and like, I don't know. I get writer's block. What about you?
Yeah, I've been trying to figure out like a few different methods to write, because sometimes if I'm just like writing something down, I'll think it's funny, and then as soon as I perform it, I've spent a few days writing, multiple minutes, and as soon like 10 seconds in, I'm like, oh my god, this is really bad.
Yeah.
So what I did, I was interested because the other day, I think it was a clip of a podcast. I was just looking up different writing methods because I was like, I got to find just different things to try. Just like sitting down and thinking, what's funny about that? So it wasn't work. So Bill Burr was talking about how he doesn't ever write down anything. All he does is he has a topic that he thinks is interesting, and whether it's like out loud in a mirror, at a mic, or like a free spot he does somewhere, he'll just start riffing on the topic and like seeing what hits and go into there. And then over time, he just refines it to he knows what's good about it, what angles to take. Yeah. And he said he just pretends like he's like talking to his friends. Like, how would he make his friends laugh if he was talking about this? So I started doing kind of a version of that where, like, I think better when I'm walking. And I stay up late, so I'll take, like, late night walks up and down the street, and I'll just be, like, talking it out. And if I think something's good, I'll just, like, voice record, like, a sentence at a time. And then when I get back to my desk, like, I can just play that back and be like, oh, that's pretty good. And then, so I've been doing that for, I mean, maybe a month now, and I do like some of the stuff I've written, because it's weird how when you're just like talking it through, you'll just like randomly think of something, you're like, oh, that's actually kind of good.
Yeah.
And so, but I think the other problem is that my skill level in writing is still like, it's like, what is stand-up comedy besides writing good jokes? My writing is my worst thing. It's like, so like I'm bad at the only thing.
What do you think is, like, as far as a writer goes, like whenever you look at your jokes, like what is, like, because the thing I notice people doing the most is they just put too many words in their jokes, like like between setup and punch. And I don't think you're necessarily bad about it or anything, but just like in general, like comedians, I'm like someone I saw the other day, they were saying something about like they were talking about non-stick pans.
Okay.
And they're like, I guess those give you cancer. And they're like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like either I can have half an egg because half of it sticks to the pan, or I can have cancer.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's pretty funny. But it's like saying I can have half an egg because half of it sticks to the pan. That you're saying the same thing twice.
Yeah.
It's like, just cut one of those. Just
that
like,
makes sense.
Half my egg sticks to the pan or I get cancer. You know what I'm saying? And
it's almost funnier if it's like a little wordy of like, I can have half an egg stuck to the pan or cancer.
Exactly.
You know, it's like,
exactly.
That's
and it's
a
just like
funnier way to
trim
say
all
that
that stuff out, and it's like it gets to the punch faster.
One thing, okay, so here's an observation I had recently, and I haven't because I'm prepping for, like, we're both doing the Blue Whale Comedy Festival.
Yeah.
That this will come out after that, unfortunately. But
shout out Blue Whale Comedy Festival.
Yeah, come check us out in the past. Time travel back, catch my set. That's my first festival,
exciting.
And so I haven't written in the last like few weeks much new material because I've just been trying to figure out, okay, how can I get like my best five for this, and then once it's done, I'll get back to writing more and trying more new stuff. But what I've noticed, and I want you to tell me if this rings true for the comics you see that are good in New York City and in general, is sometimes it does take a couple or a few sentences to like establish a premise and set up kind of the angle you're going at it. But I have noticed that comedians that are really, really good, if they have to spend a few sentences setting up something, then the punchlines will be come in huge bunches. So it might be 30 seconds of setup, but the next 2.5 minutes is almost no setup and just bam, bam, bam. So it's like, if they're going to spend that time setting it up, they're not hitting one punch and leaving.
Yeah.
They're hitting a bunch.
That's a good point. Yeah. It's like, it's worth the payoff.
Yeah. So it's like, if you're going to spend, so what I've been trying to tell myself is, because I think I have a few jokes where I kind of use a lot of words to establish something, and then there's like a decent punchline, but because I spent so much time setting it up, and then I just move on to the next thing, it's like, that was wasted. Like,
dude, that's one of the ways I like to, like, I think are really, like, jokes, this probably sounds violent, but jokes are like stabs. And I think like a good joke is like a stab and you like twist the knife.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
You were telling me about that because I asked you what separates like these really good up and comers in New York City that you believe are going to make it.
Yeah.
And you said they will have like obviously great material, but it's like they hit you with the set, then punchline, couple of tags, and you're like, oh, that's fresh, that's cool, that's funny, and then they twist it at the end, and it's like, oh, and it just
like keeps going.
Yeah.
But also like one thing I've noticed about like people that I think are very funny in the New York City scene is like they have something about their personality or some angle, and they just like do it so well. Like there's a comic who comes to my mind, and like he kind of just plays a dummy.
Yeah. Like
he's just a kid who's like kind of an idiot, but he's not really. Like his material's very smart.
Yeah.
But like when you look at him and the way he presents himself, he's like, okay, he seems kind of dumb.
Gotcha.
And so like his material kind of insinuates that. Or like there's guys who are like, you know, from New York City and they grew up like kind of rough, like gangster kind of shit.
Yeah.
And like they do material about that. And it's like, it's very like you can link it very easily.
Like
them.
they've established what their comedic voice is.
Yeah.
It's not just like random jokes anybody could tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I'm not against telling, like, dude, I think any joke, if you do it right, like it can work.
Yeah.
But I guess maybe sometimes it works better if you make it work for you.
I think, cause I read this, I know there's kind of divided opinions on if you can be taught stand-up comedy. But when I was just starting out, I read a book called, I think it was like Mastering Stand-Up by Stephen Rosenfield.
Okay.
It was recommended by a few people. And I thought it was very informative and interesting because I was so new. Like any information was good information.
Yeah, and you're like
this is a joke. Okay, yeah, thank God. And he said, one of the things he said in there that I did think was pretty good was that a joke is fine, but a good joke is fine, but you'll never succeed at the highest level if your jokes could be told by other people just as effectively.
Yeah.
He was like, they have to be, even if it's just like tone of voice or mannerisms, like it has to come, even if it's like it can make the simplest of jokes elevated. And I think, and not to disparage at all, like I'm a huge fan of Kevin Hart, especially because he's very physical and animated, and that's more my style. Yeah. I do think a lot of his jokes, if told by other people, would not be near as effective. Yeah. And like there's a lot of, you're like, early Dane Cook, like you hear legends of him just like crushing majorly, and it's like, I think that there's, and there's probably a million people like that, even, or somebody on the deadpan side, like a Nate Bargatze. Yeah. A lot of his jokes.
He plays the dummy. He's like the dummy, but he's not. He's genius,
he's very smart.
But he's just like, Kevin Hart, when you said that, I immediately thought of the joke where he's like, he's with his girl, and he's like, if she gets hit, she's like, you just got hit. That's what
Is that the one where he talks about like she's getting her ass beat, so he runs away, and then she has the car keys, and he's like, but I'm not gonna go over there until they're done beating her ass, because like if she wants me to get my ass kicked, that's both of us. That's selfish. Like I don't want to get my ass kicked. Yeah. That's a really funny bit. Yeah. I saw him do. I was looking up his old stuff the other day, and he does this bit where he comes out and he's like really serious, over the top serious, and he's like, hey, listen, I just want to tell you, these are just jokes. Like, I don't want anybody accosting me after the show. You guys are doing too much. And like, so then the way he starts describing it is so, he's like, y'all coming up to the show, who's the funny one now, Kev? Who's a bitch now, Kev? And like, he got like, is saying all these things that people that are like, obviously he's making it up, but like the attacking people are saying to him, and the way he just goes through it because he's so serious and he's acting like so down and sad is so funny. He's like, who's the funny one now? Just all that shit is, it's really funny.
Yeah, he's good.
He's been at it a long time, right?
Dude, he is the hardest working person 100%. I've ever seen in my, like, dude, I see him everywhere. Like, he has Laugh Out Loud Comedy Network, so he has his own comedy network, whatever the hell that means. I don't even he did a special on Netflix like last year or the year before. Dude, I saw he was like the ambassador to like Dubai or something. Did you see that?
I didn't know that.
There's like a commercial.
He's also on tour. He was in Oklahoma City a week ago.
Was he really?
Yeah, he's on tour.
He's on tour. Oh, nice. I didn't see that.
I was doing a show in Wichita the day he was here because I wanted to go. That's why I knew exactly the day.
Yeah.
So he's the ambassador to...
Dude, I saw like a commercial. I'm pretty sure it was for Dubai or like one of those Middle Eastern countries. It's like him driving a Ferrari or something. And he's just like, come to Dubai or whatever. He's doing his like Kevin Hart shtick where he's like trying to act cool, but he's not or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, I was just like, what the hell's going on? Like, why is he doing, but because he's getting paid. He's working.
I think you're absolutely right, because I think in general, and I don't mean this as a slight to comedians, but in general, comedians... like work ethic and discipline, like waxes and wanes. Yeah. And it's kind of an irregular work schedule. Yep. I think Kevin Hart approaches it more like an athlete or a business person. Yeah. He's like just grinding. Because he's got, he's on tour. I saw like he had this, like The Man from Toronto, a Netflix movie came out a month ago. And then another one with Mark Wahlberg is coming out like next month. Yep. And then, he's got... like a podcast. He has like 2 Netflix series. One is like a docu-series. One's a drama series. Yeah. He's got the Laugh Out Loud Network. Yep. He's got like fitness brands. I'm like, Jesus. Yeah,
he's
Christ.
a Fabletics guy too. Dude. Yeah. Like, him and The Rock, I think, just have a competition to see who can outwork each other.
I mean, I think what's interesting is like I'm always fascinated with like sustained excellence in anything, whether it's like athletics, business, sports, even interpersonal relationships. Like if somebody has a great friendship or marriage, I'm like, because like getting there is one thing, but staying there is like infinitely hard. Yeah. And, because like I know Tom Cruise is a weird guy. Yeah. I love sustained Tom Cruise. Excellence. Like he's been a box office guy, for 25 years, 30 years now, maybe even, I think he had his breakout role in like the 80s. It's 40 years, this fucking guy. Oh, wow. Yeah,
that's a
because
good
when did
point.
the first Top Gun come out? Like late 80s?
I think 86, maybe.
Yeah, so that's almost 40 years.
Was
that's
that
like
his
35
breakout
years.
movie?
No, he broke out. I think his breakout movie was either what's the Risky Business, where he's like sliding around the boxers. I think it was either that one or.
But those are definitely 80s, dude.
Yeah, but like, and then like the most recent Top Gun made over $1 billion. So
dude,
it's like,
did you watch it?
It's so good.
It was awesome,
dude. I went and saw it 3 times.
Dude, it was so fun.
It was a great movie.
I thought there was one part where, like, you know, when him and the other guy crash, and they have to go steal the plane.
Yeah,
I thought it was gonna be. I wanted that part to be longer. I wanted them to like take some guys out.
Oh, that would have been sick.
Yeah, but it was like that's probably out of character. Like they're just fighter pilots.
Yeah,
but I wanted them to go like Solid Snake, like you know what I'm saying,
like Mission Impossible,
like Tom Clancy. Yeah, like Mission Impossible. Like
the Mission Impossible theme starts playing.
Yeah,
the characters hear it. They're like, "What the fuck?" You know. But yeah, no, that was. It was just a great movie. I was amazed at how well it balanced like the action, the character development. I was like, damn, that was just it's not reinventing the wheel, but I was like, that's a solid.
You talk about sustained excellence. I think there is something about it where it's like either like discipline or like loving something so much that you can be disciplined about it. Because like the people that come to my mind are all athletes. It's like LeBron James, Tom Brady, Cristiano Ronaldo.
Dude, Tom Brady's my guy.
All well into their 30s, 40, but still able to like compete at a high level. Yeah, and I think they're all very disciplined. Those people. But I don't know if the discipline came first or just like the love of what they do and they understood that they needed to be disciplined to continue doing what they do. I
think you're right. I think it's probably an element of both.
Yeah.
Because I know that obviously, and there's a ton of guys that work hard, but like, you know, Tom Brady's disciplined work ethic, especially on the stuff that is like no fun, like watching film and all that, is pretty legendary. But I remember, you know, because I'm kind of like huge Tom Brady fan. I got to show. I have a painting of him in my office.
Right.
It's not in here, but
one day you'll interview him and he'll be on here.
That would be awesome. That would be really sick. It's one of the things where I almost don't want to meet him because it's like I idolize what he does, and I'm like I don't know if I would want to ruin it. Like, what if he's an asshole? You know. But he talked about on this podcast. He said that he has vivid recurring dreams to this day where he will wake up in the middle of the night and he's dreaming of throwing a football.
Really?
Like just throwing.
That's
not
crazy.
anything, just throwing a football. Yeah. And I'm like, damn, that is wild. Like, I have dreams of like drowning and being attacked and like, do you ever, recurring dream I have is my teeth falling out.
Really?
Have you ever had that dream?
I have balding.
Really?
Yeah.
I have a dream of my teeth falling out. I wonder what that means. Like the balding or the teeth falling out. It's like, it's got to be some anxiety of some type that in there that is something. It means,
dude, I'm worried if my hair goes, dude. I don't know what I'll do, dude.
I was thinking about it because I got a haircut today. I cut it too short now.
Yeah, it looks good.
Oh, thank you. But I have like I have really thick hair, but I have like on the sides I have like
I have the same thing,
whatever you would call that. And I was like, man, if I become a successful entertainer, like I would get a hair 100%. Surgery.
Dude, I'll get one if I'm an unsuccessful entertainer. I don't give a shit.
I want my hairline to look good, like you know,
Elon Musk, dude. Have you seen the pictures of Elon?
You just get rich enough, your hair grows back. Yeah, that's so funny. I wonder if Jeff Bezos looks at that and he's like, "I fucking damn it,
probably should have.
Yeah, I should have done that."
But Bezos looks good bald. Man, I'm not a fan or anything, but he looks good bald.
A good supervillain.
He looks very
he looks
J.K. Simmons kind of.
Yeah. Some people look. Do you know Andrew Patterson, the local comedian?
Yeah, the comedy he runs a lot.
I think he looks good bald.
Yeah,
I think he looks solid.
Dude, he's super talented.
Yeah.
Like his tattoos are amazing.
He's he gave when I think I might have already told it.
Shout out Andrew Patterson if you ever watch this stuff, dude.
AP Tattoo Art, the 32 Tattoo in Lawton. Yeah. So when Big J Okerson came to town, he sought Andrew out and got a tattoo and shouted him out on his like the Skank Network podcast,
dude, that's
or whatever
incredible.
It's called. Yeah, really cool.
Andrew also runs a great comedy show that he had both of us on at some point.
Yeah.
In Lawton.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. He does a lot of cool stuff. You were telling me the other day, like, and he is the Lawton comedy scene.
Dude, he put Lawton comedy on his back.
There's nobody else. Like He hosts his own show and produces it. It's really cool.
He owns the venue. He hosts the show.
Yeah.
He books the show. He does the advertisement. He performs in the show. He is Latin comedy.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Yeah. And then he has an open mic afterwards for the people, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's what he does to like build intrigue that I think is pretty good is at the open mic, you vote on who does the best. And whoever does the best gets featured at the next show.
Oh,
they
really?
get booked on the next show.
Wow.
So it like builds like a little bit of intrigue.
Yeah, and then
so,
you
like,
want to be
local
there.
people
Yeah.
that, just think they're funny can get up there. And then if they do good, they get like a paid show.
Dude, when we were there was a couple comedians I hadn't met before who must have been from the area or maybe won it from that.
Yeah.
And they're pretty funny.
Yeah. They, I do think, I think it's cool how, because Lawton's like a smaller town. Some people have that like kind of small town country vibe. And like when they connect with an audience, it's like everything they're saying is just crushing. And
dude.
it's really
dude,
cool.
There was a guy like that on my show and he was super funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just like, it's cool. It's cool to see. It's cool to just see a comic crush.
Yeah, it is.
Who's the comic you've seen crush the most?
The most frequently or like
no,
the
just
hardest?
like the hardest you've seen live in person.
Oh man, like a local person or like a headliner?
Either.
Okay, so I would say the most unexpected was a night when the Looney Bin on the Wednesday show had like a almost full crowd. Like there was like 100 or so people there in that small room. And the headliner was a guy named Rob Little. And I guess he's been a touring comic for like 25, 30 years. And, they have the open mic before and then, the host and the feature. And nobody had really done that well. And he was just like wearing like jeans, New Balances, and a black shirt. Like, and he's like this short, bald, kind of fat guy. And he waddles up to the stage.
Yeah.
And for an hour, he like the audience did not stop roaring, myself included. I was like,
so awesome.
"Holy shit, that was impressive!"
That's the dream. Like when you see that, it's like that's.
Well, let me give one more example because then I want to hear yours. I'm trying to think of like another. I've seen Maverick McWilliams a couple times.
That was a funny dude.
When he like has hosted or does spots at like bigger shows.
Yeah,
I've seen him really crush like a hit. Oh, when who was it? It was Mark Normand when he was here. Yeah. He really, really crushed at the show that I went to.
Yeah.
And it was sold out. And I was like, damn.
Mark is tight, dude. Set up punch.
Yes.
Dude.
There's no, it's just jokes.
Just jokes. It's just jokes.
Dude, what about you? Yeah.
I was going to say Maverick is so, like, we were hanging out with him the other day, dude. He's so funny.
Yes.
In, like, just, like, his brain works very fast.
Yeah.
Like when we were talking, I was just like, he said something. Whatever. Yeah, I don't think he's written a joke about it yet.
Yeah.
But he said something about the CEO of monkeypox.
Yes.
And I'm still like, literally today, I was thinking about how funny that is because it's one of those things where you're not saying the joke.
Yeah.
But it's like people who think it's man-made, people who think that these like whatever viruses are made for profit by big pharma or whatever. That's all that wrapped up into one thing. And it's like conspiracy theory because it's like evil CEO.
And there's so many directions you could go with that.
Dude, it was so good. And I was like, he just said that. Like he wasn't even like, he was just bullshitting, making up a story. So funny, dude.
You know why I think he's good at that is because he told me for the first 4 years of his comedy career, like performing multiple times every week, he only did crowd work.
Really?
Only crowd work.
Yeah.
For like
So
4 years, of...
He's got that gene, not gene, but just like worked out.
There was one time where, because I've seen him do this a few times where, like, when somebody's like trying to talk to the crowd and somebody in the crowd and it's like not going that great, and then somebody in the crowd will say something and it gets a big laugh. It's like usually it's not going great if that's happening. I've seen that happen to him multiple times and he can turn it around and make it even better.
Yeah.
Like there was one time at the Bricktown Comedy Club that he was doing a spot and he was trying to interact with these people from the crowd, and they were just being kind of rude and condescending because I'm not sure why, but it was these two girls and they were holding hands. He was like lesbians, just like the way he said it, and they're like, yeah, and he's like, oh, I love lesbians. Lesbians are the best. Like he's just like trying to find something in the room, and they're like, yeah, we get more pussy than you, and for some reason the whole room is just like, yeah, and they're like, and then some guy was like, you're fat, like to Maverick, and he took like both of those things, and I remember he turned it into like a joke about his cousin playing softball. and being lesbian and getting all this pussy, and he was like, you know, she plays catcher, but she's not catching much of anything. You know, she's laying it down, and like interact, and then by the end of it, and because it was a while back, so I don't remember it, but I remember it had something to do with like his fat cousin playing softball and being lesbian, and he turned it into this thing, and they were all just dying by the end of it. And then when he got it, I was like, that was impressive. I was like, I can't believe, like, you know, does your cousin know those jokes? He's like, I don't have a fat cousin. He's like, I made that shit up. And I was like, wow, like, to me, that's impressive. That, like, because if you can pull from memory, like, oh, I got this fat lesbian cousin that plays softball, that's one thing. But he just made up a character, you know? And then the other time I saw him do it was, him and I, like, it seems like every time I talk to him, we end up just, like, talking shit back and forth. And he was on stage at Kindle's, and I don't know why, he was just, like, his whole set was just, like, making fun of me. Yeah. And so he was talking about how I work for a government agency. Gotcha. And just like, you know, I'm a narc, CIA, FBI. And he's like, yeah, which one you work for? I was like, I work for your MOM. And he was like, for some reason, it just like came off as funny. Like, I didn't even think it was that funny, but it was like a your mom thing. And everybody's like, oh. And pretty so funny. He launched into this tirade, and he's like, you think that's funny? He's like, you think it's funny that my mom had to suck dick on the side of the road for money? You think it's funny that my mom had to pick up extra shifts working at the penitentiary? Went on like this 3-minute tirade about like, you know, like, don't make fun of my mom. And it was just like out of nowhere. But so that was pretty impressive, that his crowd work. But anyway, who's a comedian that you've seen crush really hard?
Dude, I mean, I've seen some good ones. Like, I think Godfrey I saw one time at the Cellar, and he was crushing. But I think the one that stands out is I saw Caitlin Palufo at that Vail Comedy Festival.
Okay. I haven't seen her.
Dude, she did 40 minutes or like maybe an hour, and the crowd, it was just like, I remember I was like kind of on the side, so like I could kind of watch her and watch the crowd. And I remember being like, oh, this is what I want to do. You know, it was just like, she was just like going like joke after joke, and like people were just like dying laughing. Damn. And it was just like I remember listening to the noise in the room, be like, oh, it's roaring. Like the room is actually like that's
so cool.
And I was just like, damn, dude, like, yeah, like 40 minutes. And that's like one of the things, like when I write material, like my biggest criticism of myself is like, I don't think I have anything that would make someone like roar laughing. I actually think you're probably better at like writing things that will like really hit to be funny.
The few times that I've like really crushed, like some of my, if the people are like with it and they're feeling it, the big physical act outs, people can start really going nuts. But I feel like I don't do well. Like I've never seen you perform and it not go well.
Thank you.
Like I've seen a lot of me perform and it go really bad.
I've seen the same for myself. Don't worry.
And so, but like your jokes are just so solid. So I do think that you will get there, because it, like, your jokes are so solid that as they continue to develop, you know.
But it's exciting. It's exciting to see that kind of stuff. Just
what was her material? What do you think was making the crowd go so crazy?
She's kind of like like I would describe her as like a softball player type. You know what I'm saying? So she's kind of like just like calls that out. She says like she has a body for like mowing a lawn or something. You know what I'm saying? Like and just like kind of like leans into who she is, and she's like kind of like a little crass, but not like overly, and like just like funny about it. Like she'll like say some wild shit, and it's just She crushed.
Damn, that's cool. Was she like one of the headliners, or just like somebody that was
there?
She
was the headliner for the last night. So the headliners were Osama Siddiqui, Steven Rogers, and Caitlin Palufo.
Oh, so she was one of the three. That's got to be cool to be like the big headliner and deliver like that. Like that's got to feel good.
Yeah, where it's like, glad we booked that person.
Yeah, because I think sometimes, and this may be like a false, whatever you call it, like observation, but sometimes I think it's easier if you're doing less time and the crowd doesn't expect it, but you have a captive audience to like really get them going. Because like, whoa, this is really good.
Yeah.
And then sometimes and obviously it usually works in the opposite, but like sometimes a big headliner comes in, and if they're not doing so great, you know, people are like, what the hell are you doing here?
What the hell is this?
Like, you were supposed to be funny.
Yeah, who is this guy?
Like, where's part 2? We need the funny part.
Oh my god, dude! So Cody, for what it's worth, is referencing. I just posted my first, I edited a video of mine and I posted it to Instagram and
a
TikTok.
stand-up clip, yeah.
A stand-up clip, and I posted it to Instagram and TikTok. And this guy on TikTok said, "What did he say?"
He said, "We need part 2. I want to see the funny part."
Yeah, dude. Dude, such a burn.
Really good burn.
I was literally texting another comic about it. He's like, it's really funny because the first part is encouraging. It's like a setup. Like that dude literally set up punched my video.
Yeah.
And he was the first comment.
I know.
Dude, so it just like killed. Dude, I felt like it was just like, all right, well, this is embarrassing.
Yeah, it is. It is interesting how like a comment like that can really. It's like, because I've always thought of myself as like a pretty, self-assured person. But when I post like podcast clips and stuff and they get negative comments, it's a concerted effort to not be like bummed.
Dude, I was like, I started looking through his friends because I was like, all right, I'm going to find out who this guy is. I started looking at his friends to see if I could figure out what city he lives in. I was just like, don't do this. Yeah. Like, dude, you're not going to go to Georgia and just like bully some kid. But I might.
Yeah, you might. It might be worth it.
I might do it.
It is interesting though, because I feel like a lot of people that comment that stuff, they don't even think twice about it.
No,
like it's just like a whatever.
There's no reaction.
Yeah,
he doesn't know I'm mad.
No,
he doesn't know that that's my favorite joke.
Yeah, or it's like they're trolling. It's just like they don't care.
Yeah.
And so I think that is really funny because I get the same way where I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
Damn it. Like there was a podcast clip, like one of my first ones that I posted that got some traction. I think like after a day, and for my podcast clips account, it's still pretty small. It had like 7,000 views and like, over 700 likes, which I was, well, for me I was
awesome.
like, and so it's like, I take that as like, okay, what was the format of that? Mm-hmm. How can I replicate it? And then I started looking through the comments and they were all negative. And I was like, God damn it. Like that is a bummer. And they were really, like that one, they were clever. I was like, damn, these kids are good.
And the thing, what sucked is that comment he said, what I really wanted to know is if he thought of that because of my video or if he had posted that before.
Oh, that's
because it could be used on any video. Yeah. So I was like, all right, if he's just saying that on random videos, all right, whatever.
And it might not even be his comment. He might have just seen that and been like, oh, that's a good troll.
Or I was like, damn, because it was good.
It's a good troll, yeah.
I was like, I want to know if he thought of that because of my video. If my video was so bad to him that it inspired good comedy.
Yeah, that joke is great though. Yeah. I've told that joke to like 4 or 5 different people and been like, you got like, next time this guy Humzah's in town doing
my
shows.
Joke. I thought you meant his comment.
No, your joke.
Thank you.
I'm like, next time this guy Humzah is in town, like you gotta come see him.
Yeah.
This guy is hilarious. Like,
thank you. I appreciate that.
You should definitely send tape to the like Bricktown Comedy Club and Looney Bin people because they would book you as a host or a feature for these people coming in.
Dude, I would love to. I would love to. I'm always weird about asking.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know how to ask. I
don't know how to either. And like I was hoping like if I like go, because I go to the Bricktown Comedy Club. I don't go to Looney Bin as much. I should.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I always feel like Looney Bin, I don't know. I'm like scared of places like that for some reason.
Places like, how is that different from Bricktown?
I don't know. I feel like Bricktown's more well lit.
Yeah, Looney Bin's pretty dark.
It's like dark and like kind
interesting.
Of, but I mean, I've been there before and I like it, and like everyone's been nice. So like I don't know why I do that to myself. But neither here nor there.
One thing you should do, like I remember it made me more comfortable, is like the owner or the lady that runs it. Her name's Terry. Yeah. She's like really hardcore. Like she intimidates me a little bit. And I remember when I started just like saying hello to her and like getting past that barrier of like, oh shit, like that helped a lot. And then I got some advice from Julie Drake. If you ask Terry, she'll like watch your set and give you detailed feedback.
Oh wow.
So like, I think it was just last week. I was like, hey, I'm, number this on the open mic. If you could pop in and watch, I would love some honest and harsh, if necessary, feedback.
Yeah.
And like, she gave me some really good feedback. And
nice.
And like, she had a couple critiques, but then she also had a few compliments. And so, it's like, this person has seen 20 years of, booking headliners. So it's like, if she has feedback, it's valuable. And I think that was, that made me more comfortable there too. So I would definitely, dude, she would love your stuff.
Dude, I need to go back. I should have gone when I was here this time. I'm only in town for like a week, so I just like
Yeah, that's tough.
yeah. You got to balance because I'm also here to see my family.
Yeah.
Like my mom, I feel bad because like she works till like 5, and then I get off work at 5,
Yeah,
and then I literally leave the house till 9-10 p.m.
to go do.
And she's
open
like,
mics.
yeah.
So one thing I did want to ask you about was, and this is a little bit of a cultural archetype, but
Yep.
I'm curious about it. Your parents' expectations of you,
Yeah.
like career wise, versus you choosing to pursue a comedy career. Because obviously, like you have a regular job, but it's not something at this point that you're grinding, trying to necessarily get like promoted and run the company.
I'm actively avoiding promotions.
Yeah, you just want to like make enough money to support yourself, and like you're pursuing comedy. So what does your like family or parents think of that? Because from an outside perspective, I do know in Indian culture there is a lot of or maybe in like Asian culture in general, there's a lot of parental pressure on certain career paths.
Yeah.
Is that something that exists in your family?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I mean, doctor, engineer. Like, I remember in college when I told, like, I was pre-med to begin with, and I remember telling my mom I didn't want to be a doctor, and she was like, "So you want to be like a dentist?"
That's so funny.
I was like, "No, I don't think you get it." And I ended up doing engineering because, like, I don't know, it was just like I like engineering, but I always wanted to be a comedian.
Yeah,
and I think like a lot of that pressure is probably why it took me so long to actually like fully pursue comedy. Like, I started at 30. Which is like not young.
Yeah.
And it's like kind of weird because, so like, I think I did that a lot because now I pay all my own shit.
Yeah.
Like I'm not relying on money from anyone else. So it's like, I can do whatever I want. And ever since I've told them about doing comedy, like I think they're happy for me because they know I like it a lot. But I think if I would have been 22 and just graduated college and like went and did it, I think they would have been worried. And I think I knew that. So it kind of like kept me from like fully committing.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I would say that there was like a lot of pressure at this point. Yeah, I don't have anything to lose. Like I make enough money to pay for my life and I can do comedy. So it's good. I feel fortunate in that.
That is really cool. Like to not have to be like, all right, I know how much money I'm making every month. Yeah. And so I know as long as I don't spend more than it, like I can go for it as hard as I want.
Exactly. I think you asked earlier, I don't know if you just asked it, but it's like, do I wish I would have started earlier?
Yeah. Well, I wanted to ask a couple more about about your parents first. So like your parents, they did want you, and I think that is like a cultural archetype in a way, like especially like the doctor or engineer.
Yeah. Both my siblings are doctors.
Yeah. Is there, so now that you are fully supporting yourself financially, they don't have a problem with it, or is it still like they wish you would like?
I think now they wish I would get married. That's the one they want me to do now.
Interesting.
Yeah, just like have all my life stuff settled out and then do. Is
that a cultural thing as well, or just like them specifically?
No, I think it's pretty cultural as well. Just like making sure you find a good family and you marry and like all that stuff.
Is that something you see for yourself? Do you eventually want to get married and start a family, or are you more looking to do your own thing?
I think so. I think eventually I want to. It's hard at this point.
Yeah.
At this point, it's like literally I wake up at probably like 9:30. I start work at 10. So like I have like 30 minutes to myself before, and I usually just get on my computer.
Yeah.
Work till 6. Leave my house, go to a mic, come home at like midnight.
Yeah. Then just
go to bed.
Do it again.
Yeah, no, I probably spend about an hour just like I'll like be on my phone or whatever, just like brain dead.
Yeah.
And then I go to sleep and wake up and do it again. It's exhausting.
You don't even eat.
No. No, I haven't eaten in 3 years.
No time for meals.
So it's exhausting. And I
that's hard to fit it's hard to even fit friends in.
Yeah.
Like I used to, so when I played professional golf, I would hang out with friends like at night because there has to be sun in the air.
Golf, yeah.
And so I was able to maintain some friendships outside of that. I did and played professional golf for years, but still maintained some sort of a social life.
Yeah.
But then now that I've started to pursue comedy, like I don't have any friends anymore. Because I work all day during the day because I have to make enough money to support myself.
Yep.
And then the mics happen at night. Mm-hmm. And then any free night, like I have a girlfriend. And so, and it's not out of any like obligation, but any free night I get, like, I want to hang out with her. Yeah. Like she's my girlfriend for a reason.
Yeah.
And so like, I looked up and like the last time, like one of my friends I was talking to and just like texted randomly because something reminded me of them. And it was like the last time I'd hung out with him, like we went and saw a movie in May.
Yeah.
And like that was like the last, and
like
I was like,
4 months ago.
I know, I was like, damn, it doesn't feel like that long ago. But so I get what you're saying about like the schedule is not conducive to
relationships or anything else really.
Yeah.
Especially if you're working. I mean, it'd be a lot easier if I could just do like, that's like the dream, I guess, of being a professional comedian is then you can do comedy and have personal relationships really flourish as well.
And like, I'm imagining, and maybe I'm idealizing it, but it's like if you have, like if you're a successful comedian where your income comes from stand up or maybe stand up adjacent stuff, like a podcast or like, whatever. You can have free time during the days. You can sleep in. Yep. I could play a lot of golf for fun because I love and miss golf. I just can't do it at a professional level due to injuries. Yeah. But like I would still love to be able to play a couple times a month. That'd be great. But so with your like current schedule, you probably wouldn't see yourself pursuing a relationship until something changed in that regard.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if and the thing about New York is very accessible. So it's like you can like pop around and just like go see someone like, whenever.
Yeah.
And I think I also may have like overcommitted to comedy at some point. Like you don't need to do 2 mics a night every night for 6 months in a row.
Okay.
It's like you can take a Sunday off. Yeah. It's like you can take a Tuesday where you do no mics.
Yeah.
Or even 1 mic and then you go to dinner. Like I think you can definitely do it. Like it's not like most of the comics have girlfriends and stuff.
Yeah.
I think, but when I first started, I think I was like anxious. I was like, I have to be fully committed all the time and just like trying to always be at something comedy. But even at a certain point, I don't think you're doing yourself a service. Like if you're just going to mics and doing the same jokes over and over again and not like thinking about it or like trying to rewrite or anything, I don't know. I don't think it's always helpful.
That leads to a question that I've had kind of internally is, obviously here there's not as many mics, but I do try to balance like how often should I spend my evenings going to mics and how often should I spend my evenings either writing or doing something else creatively, because like I see my path, because I started kind of late as well. Like I see the road to success as a comedian. And I think this comes from a little bit of self-doubt as well. Like where I'm like, okay, I don't know if I'll ever be a good enough writer where I can make it as just a stand-up comedian.
Interesting.
And so like I think about it in terms of like, okay, I need to get like my podcast and my YouTube channel big so that I can leverage those into opportunities and like my fans are coming to see me.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily that the bar is lower, but that the like goalposts are shifted a little bit where they're looking for a certain type of stuff.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes like, because I've been doing every night, working on comedy, so the podcast has fallen behind. I wonder, it's like, okay, what is a better use of my time? Is it like, half the nights of the week are open mic, half I do podcast and YouTube stuff? It's like, so I think that's an interesting, and like you mentioned, it's like at a certain point, if you're just running the same jokes, you're not helping yourself out either. Yeah. So I think finding not only a balance that is like, helps you grow as a comedian, but also that is taken into account, because I try to approach everything like one of the things I learned in golf was like, if you can work super hard, you can hit balls for hours a day, but if you don't have a plan of what you're doing, there are guys that are putting in a quarter of the time you are that are going to like pass you.
Yep. Efficiency in a way.
An engineering concept, if you will. So what's your take on that as far as like working on other projects and writing?
Yeah. What you said is interesting about like, like working on your YouTube, working on your podcast, all this stuff. I think it totally makes sense, especially like being able to build an audience is really what you have to do as a comedian. And you can do that on stage. You can do that via podcast or YouTube. And it's like, I think you got to kind of like understand your strengths.
Yeah.
Like you said, like knowing you, it's like, dude, you'd probably be amazing at YouTube.
Yeah. I've made quite a few YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really have an audience. I think I have like 350 subscribers or something. So it's not like, it's not nothing, but, and that's, like that's, something I want, hopefully, if work gets a little more stable.
I wonder, is there such a thing as spreading yourself too thin? Do you ever feel like 100%. I should be concentrating more on something?
That's exactly where I am right now, where it's like, because for a while I was trying to make YouTube videos. I was trying to do the podcast and I was trying to do stand up, and all of it was bad. Like I felt underprepared in each arena.
Yeah.
I would show up to an open mic
and
I would be like, damn it, like I should have spent more time writing and practicing.
Yep.
I would sit down for a podcast and I'd be like, I didn't think enough about how I wanted this conversation to go and how I can, basically create, because like another thing you got like that I think about when I like, because I love the conversation to flow naturally, but I also want to hit specific questions because I also think about how is this episode marketable? Because I think that any story can be interesting if presented in the right way.
Interesting, yeah.
So like I'm thinking in terms of what clips would I be interested in seeing? What concepts would I be interested in exploring?
Oh, that's a good way to think about it.
And so, and then I think about like the YouTube as well. Like the last YouTube video I made, I was making YouTube videos like 2 a month for a while.
Yeah.
And then it got to a point where I was trying to up the production value, make them better. And the last YouTube video, because I track hours in everything. So like whether it's work, stand-up, podcast, like I track how many hours. And it's more so to like make sure that I'm putting in, because I'm all about like consistent effort over time.
Yeah.
Like I like to think of it like like water and erosion.
Yeah.
Like if you just run water over a rock for a day, nothing happens.
Nothing happens.
Like you would think, oh, I have to use a hammer. But it's like, no, if you run water over this rock for enough time, it will change the Grand Canyon.
There you go.
And so I think of like, if I just put in enough hours and I'm consistently trying to improve my process little by little, 5-10 years from now, something will happen,
Yeah, absolutely.
Whether it becomes just abundantly apparent that I'm just not good enough at all this, and I think that's the kind of thing is like, I'm kind of going off a little tangent, but this is an interesting concept. I want to hear your thoughts on it. Is one of the, like, I read a lot of, it's funny, like it's weird because I do have a very cynical view of a lot of like the self-help and like all that stuff, but I still read all those books because
they're saying something.
Yeah, it's like some of them are very interesting. I read one called Atomic Habits. Yeah. That was one of my favorite ones because it was not a lot of fluff of like, you can do it, chase your dreams and do this and work hard and it'll happen. It was more so that, hey, not everybody can do everything, but here is a framework for how to get the most out of what you're trying to do.
Interesting.
And this guy basically, I think his name's James Clear, if I remember correctly. He basically said that when he developed this framework, and what I liked about it is that it took a lot of cool concepts that I was already familiar with, combined them into like an actionable, like informational data set or like a actionable plan. And he said that, like to summarize the part that like, I remember this is like, you were talking about everything being embarrassing. Like in the moment, like I look back, I'm like, oh, so embarrassing. I was reading this part and I was like getting emotional because I was like, damn, that's me. Like, that's what I want to do. Is he said that like he wanted to play professional baseball.
Yeah.
And so he was like undersized and not super good in high school. And so he had to walk onto a team and like work his way onto the starting line. And he's like, if I want to play professionally, I have to get so much better so fast with limited playing time.
Yep.
And so he developed a framework for improving. Now, he never got to play professional baseball. He never got drafted. He just wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
But he said he looks back with total satisfaction because he reached his potential.
Yeah.
And I remember reading that, and I had always struggled to articulate like what drove me in different things. And it was that. And it's less so like, how does my success compare to my peripheries, and how does my success compare to like, achieving, being the best. It's more so like I want to know what I am capable of.
Yeah.
And so it was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Like if I just establish a framework and operate within it, 5-10 years from now, if I'm still doing open mics and barely getting booked on local shows, I just wasn't that good. Like I just didn't have the skill, and because not everybody gets to be funny. But it's like, if I do this, it's like, say that's the reality. It's like, then at least I look back and I'm like, you know what? Like I put in concerted effort over time trying to improve. Just didn't have it. Like I'm just not that funny.
And you're enjoying doing it too.
Yeah,
right?
it is.
You're
fun.
like having a good time. I like that context switch of not comparing yourself to others.
Yeah.
And using this framework to just like be the best version of yourself and being proud of that. I think there's something so important about like finding what you're content with. Mm-hmm. And this framework you're talking about sounds like it like leads you there.
Yeah.
Which is like, yeah. Because if you compare yourself to others, you're never going to be happy.
Ooh, yeah.
Dude, it's so tough.
I still do it all the time.
It's tough not to.
Yeah.
It's tough not to.
Yeah.
Like even whenever I see like, dude, I just saw a clip of this comedian who I have seen him do his set and it's not great, but it was on Reels.
Yeah.
And it had like 150,000 likes.
Oh, wow.
And I was just like, oh. And I started comparing myself. But it's like, no, be happy for the guy.
Yeah, that's
He
true.
made a joke. He made his thing. And like, it is funny.
Yeah.
I get like, but it's kind of like, I know exactly what this punchline is going to be.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's just like, all right, good for him. I need to be content. Like, it doesn't matter. But yeah, I think I like that, the idea of just like getting the most out of yourself. Maybe I should read this book because you're like the third person I've heard mention it.
It's quite good. Nothing in it is conceptually new or reinventing the wheel, but what it does a good job is of taking a lot of abstract concepts and putting them not only in a very like actionable format, but combining them together. And you're like, oh, this is like a framework I could apply to my life right now. Yeah.
And sometimes just hearing something out loud or reading it like helps like recenter and be like, oh yeah, I do need to be doing these things, you know?
That's a good point.
It's like sometimes you get away, you just get caught up in your own life or ignoring all the things you want to be doing. And it's good to like hear it sometimes.
I think it makes me think of like the concept of self-love. Like everybody talks about that, and like that always makes me like roll my eyes because I'm like, okay, everybody's like, well, I just love myself. Yeah. Like you have a kind of a good joke. I won't like spoil the joke, but it's like, maybe you're just unlikable. Like maybe you're just kind of a piece of shit. Maybe you shouldn't love yourself. Like what you can do though is try to be the best version of yourself without comparing yourself to others. Yeah. Because sometimes I think, and like the it's like such an interesting concept of like, is this love unconditional and it's like, I'm going to do me no matter what? Or is it like the kind of like tough love where it's like, I need to push myself to be my best? I often hear it like co-opted and used in terms of like, yeah, all my like negative qualities that are genuinely unlikable. Yeah. No, I love myself. Like you can't tell me what to do. Yeah. And so I like it, and I like viewing it more in terms of like self-fulfilling or like pushing myself to be the best version of me. And if the best version of me is like making just enough money at a normal job to put food on the table and maybe have a significant other, but like that's the best I got, that's all right. You know, I gotta accept that.
It's better than a lot.
Yeah, that's true. And so I'm curious because you're a very introspective, like thoughtful person. Yeah. I would be curious your take on it.
I'm very introspective, but I'm like scared of self-help books. Yeah, I'm scared of like calling myself out sometimes.
Oh, why do you think that is? Like, is it like a fear of looking in the mirror, or like maybe you feel like you're not doing as much as you should? Like,
dude,
what
like
is
sometimes I like when it comes to comedy and like starting late, dude, I'm like so like in my head about it. Where it's like I'm glad I started, but like I'm like I should have started 5 years ago.
I know.
I should have started.
I think the same things
right out of college.
Yeah.
Like especially like being an open micer in New York, it's like most of the guys are like 25, 26. You know. So it's like,
or you got guys here like Chandler Rohn. He's like 20. Yeah. And he's really good.
Yeah.
And he's literally 20 years old.
Exactly.
You know?
And it's just like, I don't know. I think there's something about like not being able to control, like I can't change it. Yeah. So there's no point in being stressed about it. I might as well just be like happy with where I am and just like be happy I'm doing the thing I want to do.
That's true.
But it's sometimes hard to do that.
It is really hard. I agree. It's funny because you say that, and off the top of my head, I have a ton of examples of like people who started late and succeeded, but that's only because I have those same doubts, and I have to like research it to assure myself it's not over, you know?
Dude, I remember when I was 24, I thought it was like I was in California and I was like trying to like kind of dabble. Yeah. And I remember being like, no, dude, it's like too late. Yeah. It's like, that's insane. Yeah. Like it's literally crazy.
I remember at, like, because golf's a sport you can play for a long time. And I remember when I was like 23, 24, and I was playing, I was playing professionally, but I'm only getting into smaller events. I'm playing like overseas and in Asia, like trying to get status. And I'm like, it's too late. Like, I'm washed up. I'm done. And I'm like, you can play this sport forever. And I'm looking at it like that, and there's guys like, you look at like I don't know, like a Ron White or somebody like that who's just a pure stand-up comedian. Yep. I mean, they've done a little acting stuff, but like that's their main thing. And he's been doing it for like 40 years. Yeah.
Dude, he's such a G, dude. Ron White's one of those guys who's just like, he is a stand-up comedian. Yes. That's what he is through thick and thin. Like every ounce of him is stand-up comedian. Dude, I love Ron White, dude.
Have you heard the story about how he almost like didn't get to become a comedian?
No.
So I heard it. It's I think Ralphie May actually was the one who told it. But long story short, Ralphie May was like giving some tips of like what not to do. He was like, don't have sex with like people that work in the comedy clubs.
Yeah.
And I guess Ron White, and I think I might mess if this story's totally wrong, then sorry. But sorry, Ron. I know we're boys. I don't mean to speak on you. Apparently he like had sex with one of the people that worked at the club, and she was like a waitress, and she was like overweight.
Yeah.
And then the next night, he's headlining, a full weekend.
Yeah.
He just like starts like talking shit about how he fucked the fat waitress, and like everybody's laughing about it, and obviously she's not very pleased.
Yeah.
So then he goes on the road, finishes up whatever, and this is like at one of the clubs that because he was just like a club comedian guy, and like touring in his area mostly. And long story short, a year later, she's not a waitress anymore. She is the main booker for all the clubs in the region.
Oh,
so it was
God.
like, because they had been like acquired and she had gotten promoted.
Yeah.
And so it was like Texas, Arkansas, Oklahoma.
You think that's why she was working so hard? Like, God, I'm going to get this fucker.
Like, and so obviously he couldn't get booked anywhere. And that was the only area he was known in.
Yeah.
And so he actually moved to Mexico and like ended up buying like it was like a peanut factory or something, like some like weird, or like a peanut farm. And he was just living on this farm, not doing comedy. And he was out of the game. And he's like, that's it for me. Like, I'm broke.
Really?
And I forgot who the person was, but somebody that was a big time headliner that caught their big break was like, Ron White is funny. I'm going to give him another chance. And he went down and was like, and he had been doing this. He had been out of the game for years. And he was like, you're really funny. Come on the road with me.
That's insane.
And that was his big break back in. And that was in like the late 80s. And
That's
then
crazy.
from there it was, so he almost was a failure.
Yeah, I love the comedy community, dude. It's literally one of the best communities because like it's filled with like all sorts of people.
Yes.
And they're all tight. And if you're funny, people will remember you. And it's just like, that's all that matters at the end of the day. It's like, obviously you have to be like, if somebody's going to take you on the road, they want to like you and like be professional. Yeah. But like, if you're funny, it clicks with the other comedians.
Yeah.
Which I love.
They respect. I think everybody at some point, like even all the different styles, kind of respects the hustle. If you're crushing, people are like, they've got it.
Hats off to
yeah. I think like you and Maverick are a great example of that. You guys have like a good friendship and like really like each and respect each other and have completely different styles.
Yeah.
Completely different demographics.
Different people. Like he's like high energy, like funny, like country, like blue collar guy.
Yeah, blue collar.
I'm literally like low energy brown guy who like white collar worker. Yeah, like it's funny. But like I kind of love having someone like that around too. It's like I love listening to like his thoughts and like just like that perspective and stuff. It's I don't know, I feel like it makes for better comedy.
100%. I think one thing I wanted to ask you is, because you mentioned it a minute ago and I wanted to tap more into it, is like you had always wanted to pursue stand-up, but you waited a long time to get on stage.
Yeah.
I guess like a few questions within it, like what made you wait so long? You kind of touched on that. I want to hear more with that. And then like, is that something you regret? And what would you say to people that like want to try something and are on the fence about it for whatever reason?
So what made me wait so long? It was just like, I think I have terrible stage fright. Like really, really like.
I would never know that.
It's because like I worry too much about what people think of me. Like I'm very people pleasery. Mm-hmm. So like, I don't know. I thought people like hate on me for wanting to be a comedian or be like, this is stupid. Why are you doing that? That might come more from my parents than anyone else, but I don't know. I was just like very worried. Sorry. No. So like when I moved to California, I like kind of did it, but I was too afraid to even do like an open mic.
Okay.
Like even my first open mic, I was like so anxious to do it because I was just worried what people would think, like even in the room.
Interesting.
So.
And it's like just strangers in there at that point.
Just strangers.
Right? Yeah.
And like, I don't know, I was so nervous about it. And I remember I did it and then I got back to my chair and I was like, oh, nobody gives a shit. Nobody is literally, no one here cares about me at all. Like I'm less than nothing to them. Like I'm not even worth their time to like dislike. It's like,
oh, that's such a good perspective because it's so true. Like you do that first open mic and you're like, this is the end all be all.
Yeah.
And then you're like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Like gun to their head, 5 minutes from now, those people would not remember me.
They couldn't remember a thing I said.
thing.
They couldn't remember my name. They probably couldn't pick me out of a book, dude.
Oh, that's so funny. So after you do that, was that in LA that you did your first one?
So in LA, I took a comedy class, but I never did a open mic. I actually like paid for a comedy class just because I wanted to like be around the club. But even then I was like too anxious. Like the actual comedians would come in and I would avoid them. Like people would be like, "Are you a comedian?" I would say no. Like, you know, like I felt like I didn't have the like I remember we were getting a tour of it was at the Comedy Store and I was getting a tour of it. It was awesome. And the guy was like, "Yeah, you know, if you're a comedian, you can come watch for free." And I was like, "But I'm not." Like in my head, I was like, "But I would never come say I'm a comedian." Like I just didn't, you know what I'm saying? Like I was so anxious about it, so nervous.
Oh, that's so funny.
And I had some jokes that I like I still think about the premises I wrote and like they weren't good jokes, but like I think I could still go back and write.
Yeah. What was one of the premises that sticks out?
I had one about grinding. You know, like when people like dance with each other.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not dancing. That's not dancing at all. It's like, I don't know. I've tried to do it.
I think that premise that like you could make it work because it's another one of those things where I talk about your delivery is very much like you're pointing out something that is like kind of an accepted thing, but then telling the audience like, this is weird, right?
Yeah.
You know, you're very good at that.
The tags I have is like, it's like public dry humping. Yeah, that's all it is.
It is.
Or it's like also like, could you imagine if you walked into a club and there was like no music playing? What the fuck is going on? You know what I'm saying? It'd be very weird. Because like if people are like doing the tango, you know, they're dancing. Music, no music, they're dancing.
Yeah.
Grinding, not so much, but yeah.
It makes me think of like, I remember like my first high school dance in 9th grade.
Yeah.
And I was like, God, I hope I get to grind with somebody.
Dude,
like,
couldn't wait.
No, it didn't happen. You know, struck out.
Yeah.
I didn't really even know how to approach the situation.
Yeah.
I was just like, I just remember thinking like, okay, in this room is where grinding is happening.
Yep.
I got to get in the room.
Got to be in there. You can't be grinding outside.
It won't happen unless I'm in there. Once I'm in there, I have no idea.
Yeah.
But I got to be in the room. Yep. And I got in the room. I mean, I think I just stood there for 2.5 hours and my mom came and pick me up, you know? But I was like, I was there.
Hey, you went to the best of your potential.
That was the limit of my potential, yeah.
What middle school did you go to, can I ask?
I went to Summit. What about you?
I went to Cheyenne.
Okay,
but I remember when I got to high school, the Summit girls were all about grinding.
Yes, it was like, it was happening.
Yeah, dude.
I was at the like Summit was, they were throwing ass. I did not catch any of it, but it was being thrown for sure.
But you were in the right place to catch it.
Yeah.
You were in the vicinity.
It
just wasn't your night.
It was around. I just never snagged any of it.
There's other guys catching it, unfortunately.
I do remember one time I had like a little birthday party, and I remember I invited like 15 people to go to laser tag in like 8th grade. Great party. And like 3 people showed up.
Great party.
But one of them was my crush.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
This isn't even embarrassing. She's here.
Yeah.
She was like jazzed to be there.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is huge.
Yeah.
And I remember between games, we sat and we held hands. And I was like,
huge.
This is enormous. And then we both got swine flu. And I remember after that, she like thought I was disgusting and avoided me for the rest of middle school and high school.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, God damn it! Like I remember at that point, like genuinely asking the Lord, like, why did you do this to me?
Because you were at laser tag where there's just a bunch of nasty ass kids crawling around.
Yeah, I guarantee that we got it from somewhere else. Yeah. It's not like we gave it to each other.
You got it from the inside of the thing.
We got it from the lasers.
Or those things you put on and they're not cleaning that shit.
It's gross, yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's so funny.
But I remember that because that was like during the swine. That was like 2000, like 7, 8, 9, when swine flu was like a big deal. Yeah. And I remember like when I got it. I mean, I was sick for like 5-6 days, and they kept me out of school. Like it was like 3 weeks. You had to stay home. They're like, "You are not entering this building."
Disgusting piece of shit.
Yeah. I was like, "There's grinding in there, though. I need to be in the room to grind."
Maybe that's why no one grinded on you. They didn't want to get swine flu.
They thought I had swine flu. I do remember. It's so weird. Like random memories come back. I remember like during that time. That was when I was first getting into golf, and so like anything golf. I remember I played Wii golf for like 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
And I remember. Like you had to just like swing the little Wiimote, and I just distinctly remember swinging it in just like different patterns, taking notes of like the results of it. Like
the best way is to just go like this, dude. It's a huge bummer.
Yeah, I thought like I was trying to do a real golf swing.
Yeah, I thought Wii Golf was gonna be like legit, and it was just like some cartoon character, and he's just like,
yeah, it was so dumb. But yeah,
I had high hopes for the Wii.
Yeah, the Wii was weird.
It's a fun. I mean, dude, some of the games are classics.
Yeah.
Dude, the game that comes with it, the Wii Baseball.
Sports?
Yeah, Wii Baseball.
So fun.
Me and my brother will go at Wii Baseball.
The bowling was the one I
Bowling's
put the most time into. I mean, we golf individually, but like with friends. But yeah, so you were talking about like you took the stand-up comedy class. So did you do your first open mic in New York City?
In New York, yeah.
Okay.
Right after pandemic, dude, I was like, it was weird being like, oh, I could die and like not do what I want to do.
Oh.
So it was like, you just go do it. And so I went and did it. And I wrote 5 minutes, and I probably
that's impressive.
I think I went up there, and after 2.5 minutes, I was like, okay, thank you. Dude, I was bombing, dude. It was nothing, dude. I remember I had some punchline, and I like kind of like waited, and it was just like it's just like, dude, nothing.
That is painful when you hit a punchline and you give it that pause.
And it wasn't a good one. It was
nothing.
Bad. Like I think the first bit I wrote, which I need to rewrite, but it was like about like how like pandemic happened and like nobody worked, but like everything was fine. You know?
That's a pretty good concept.
Yeah, but it's like that's not, and it's like I said something like, I don't know, it was bad, dude. But yeah, so I did 2.5 minutes. Went back and sat down, and I knew I had to do it again.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, that wasn't bad. I thought for some reason I was like thinking like, oh, this is the end of the world. And it was like, no, that was it. Everybody else bombed too. I watched everybody bomb, like it was a bit tough mic, and like nobody was laughing. So it's just like, okay, I'm not special. I'm not like the main character. I'm just in it. And then you chat with someone and you go to another mic, and then next thing you know, after you're at a few, it's like you're in it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Which I think is true for any comedy scene.
Yeah, it's like I think that is important. Like if you know the people that are doing the mics and you're seeing people that you like and have some sort of rapport or acquaintanceship with, it does make it
so much more easier, enjoyable. I
think something that I do struggle with though is like, I don't know where this comes from, but like I've whatever I do, I've always like wanted the respect of my peers, and then I somehow will convince myself that like I am like the least respectable at whatever I'm doing.
Interesting.
Like I'm like anytime I do an open mic or a performance in Oklahoma City or wherever, I'm like, damn, I'm like the token bomb or like whatever like I'll convince myself that nobody here respects me, nobody here thinks I'm good. They're just like almost like like I'm like the special needs guy that they're being nice to, like, and I don't know where that comes from. Like where it's not even that I even care if other people think I'm funny. It's that, I mean, obviously the audience. I'm talking about like the other like the community. It's like I just want them to respect me. Yeah. And I think that even if I got to a point where everybody respected me, I don't know if that I would believe that they did. Yeah. And I don't know where that comes from.
I think everybody has that, at least to a degree. I mean, dude, there's comedians like whenever there's comedians that I think are really funny, I avoid talking to them. Yeah. At least in New York, I do. Like here, I actually feel like it's like more community because like everybody here is super tight. In New York, there's like segments of like groups of comedians. Okay. And if I like see a comedian I think is really funny, I avoid talking to them just so I don't think that they think that I'm stupid or that I can't hold a conversation or whatever. Yeah.
I think it's tough in general to like hold initial conversations with anybody. Yeah. It's like, hey, how you
some people are good at it. Some people are good at it.
It's like, how's it going? Yeah. I think
but if we start talking jokes, that's when I'm like, oh yeah, let's go.
Yeah, that's true.
I love talking jokes, which I think every comedian probably does.
That I think that's true. It's like because I always used to like listen to podcasts with comedians, and they would just talk like about comedy, and I don't know what the word, but I would just be like, okay, like how much can you really talk about this? And then now that I'm, it's weird, like the respect, like even calling myself a comedian or a practitioner, I'm like, well, I'm not like, performing in theaters. I can't say, it's like, well, now that I am a comedian, I'm like, oh, this is like all I want to talk about. Yeah. It's like how to tweak words. And,
I had this thought the other day, dude, somebody commented this where it's like, I think is there too much comedy podcasts?
Oh, 100% for sure.
And I love comedy podcasts, and that's all I listen to. I listen to like probably like 10 different audio comedy podcasts, just depending on who's on or whatever. And it's like, but they've commodified the shit out of comedians talking.
Yes, there's a lot.
Every conversation is recorded.
Yeah.
There's nothing left behind closed doors.
Because I like Theo Vaughn's podcast a lot, and he had an episode with Nikki Glazer not too long ago, and he talked about how I think he's like good at actually providing insightful, interesting takes on like and social commentary while also coming off as like this super naive, just like Southern dude.
Country, yeah.
And he's like, how weird is it that we like, you showed up, we said hi, and then we didn't speak for 10 minutes while we set the setup.
Yeah.
And then hit record. And then it was like, hey, because we don't want to, we want it all.
You don't want to spoil the sauce.
Yeah, I think that's, and it is kind of interesting. Like you just said, like commodifying just comedians talking. Yeah. It's really.
But I love it, dude. I think podcasts are just so great for like whenever you're like on a plane or whenever you're going for a walk. It's like music is great if I'm like trying to like push myself. You can't push yourself to like Sam Morril and Mark Norman talking. Love those guys, but they're not driving me to like run a 6-minute mile.
Yeah.
If I'm taking a walk in my neighborhood, dude, put them on.
Yeah. That's what you're like trying to hit your squat max, and like Mark Norman is like, this question's a little queefy, It's like, that's pretty funny. So you after the pandemic, as soon as things that you got on stage, you mentioned like feeling like, oh wow, I might die, I need to do this. Was there a feeling before that of like, I want to do this, but I've got time, and then that added a sense of urgency to it?
It was always just easier to not do it.
That's true.
Like I remember looking up open mic right when I moved to New York City, and I went and I stood at the bar, and the guy was like, do you need a token to go downstairs or a ticket or whatever to go do the mic? And I was like, no. And I was just like, I just like wanted to feel the vibe and like see it. And like, I don't know, dude, I was like so anxious about it. I was so anxious. And then I like
got never done it. It is a scary thing.
Yeah. I got caught up in like work and all that stuff. And like, just kind of like put it away, put it like onto the back burner for a long time.
Yeah.
And just, but it was always on my mind. Like it's always something I wanted to do.
So do you wish you had done it sooner, or do you think the fact that there was this waiting period and like a sense of urgency built up made you jump into it harder?
Yeah. I think if I'm being honest, yes, I think I wish I would have started sooner, but I'm not unhappy that I didn't.
Yeah.
And the idea that like I'm financially stable, which is great.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the comedians, but like, I think when you're younger, you get to be like a little more of a dumbass, which is like, like, like some of the younger comedians, like they're out there wilding out, like, you know, like they're out to like 4 a.m., like getting wasted in a park and like, just like saying stupid shit into a microphone.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not going to do that.
You're like, I got a Zoom call at 9. So.
Yeah. But it's cool. Like, I have like good life experiences in other places that I think help. Like I lived in Dallas for a long time, and like I've been in OKC. So like, I don't know. I think there's like a lot of like life experience that adds to the comedy. Like I think
that's true. You've been OKC, Dallas, LA, New York. You have a pretty good like full spectrum of like different types of people.
Yeah. And I think all that perspective helps, right? Like good jokes. Because like one thing I always try to do is like, I want to make sure everybody laughs at my joke.
Yeah.
Like if I do a joke about someone, it should be funny to that person as well.
I think because you have a joke about like, and I keep referencing your jokes. I don't want to spoil you have a joke about your dad being friends with like Southern black women.
Yeah.
And I remember watching when you did them in the 2 shows, like, and there were some black women in the audience, they were cracking up.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is the mark of a good joke. Like, because you're not black and you're telling a joke and you're not a woman, and you're telling jokes about like a different gender and race, and they're enjoying it. Like that's the mark of a really good joke, I think.
Yeah. And the thing is like that joke, it's like, it could be anyone. It just so happens to be 2 Southern black women.
Yeah.
Where it's just like my dad uses other people's phrases because he learned English here, you know?
The final tag to that is great. And the reason I'm not like saying it's because I don't want to spoil.
Yeah, you got to come see me at Tulsa Festival 2 days ago, 3 days ago.
Let's do it.
Tulsa Comedy Fest, Blue Whale Comedy Festival.
Everybody knows the blue whale population in Oklahoma. It's kind of out of control. So I think that's why they've named it that. There's a lot of blue whales around here.
I had told somebody that. I was like, blue whale. They're like, oh, is it near the blue whale? I was like, that would make sense.
There is an actual blue whale?
I think there's like a statue of a blue whale.
Okay. That does make more sense because I was wondering how they got that
I had
name.
no idea. I'm not a bit like, it's crazy that I've lived in Oklahoma my whole life, or most of my life, know very little about Tulsa.
I know almost nothing.
Yeah.
It's like another realm. I remember I did a show in Tulsa one time. This was just a couple months ago. And I actually got the spot because Maverick dropped out of a show day of.
Oh, interesting.
And he called like everybody he knew. Yeah. And they were all busy or couldn't do it. And he got to my name. And instead of telling me like, hey man, like I thought of you, he was like, I called everybody else. Like they said no. I was like, damn. And you know, and I'm sure that he meant nothing by it, but it's like another thing of that, like I want the respect of my peers so bad. I was like, fuck, like you know. But of course, I'm like, I'm doing the show, you know. And I remember going to Tulsa and being like, wow, there's like some cool shit here. Yeah, I had no
cool
idea.
Town.
Yeah, I had no idea.
I told you I was doing that radio show.
Yeah,
I was not the guy's first choice. I wasn't the first person he asked to do it with him. But as young comedians are, they're not reliable. Yeah. He's like, Humzah, you're reliable. I was like, I'll take it.
Dude, that's a huge thing because that's like my dad is a very like reliable person and he always like ingrained that in me. Yeah. And I think that like Julie Drake, who I would say is like one of the more successful people around here, she said that like you can get booked a lot just by being like reliable and easy to work with.
And like easy to work with. That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Like just show up on time, don't ruffle anybody's feathers, treat the staff nice, and then be like moderately funny.
Yeah, she's professional.
Yeah, she is a real professional. Yeah. And she is a good comedian. I'm not saying funny. She's not funny. She's very funny, but I think that she understands the business side of it too. Yeah. I want to know, kind of to wrap it up, you know, you were talking about your life is very much focused on you work to support yourself and then you do these open mics in comedy. Has that become your life, or who do you... Ooh, I want to make it almost more philosophical now that I've begun the question. Yeah. Who are you outside of comedy? And when you think of who you are, how do you define yourself?
Ooh, good question.
Because I used to...
outside of comedy? Who am I?
Yeah, I think maybe a two-parter. Like, what do you like to do outside of comedy? And then also, in general, how do you define yourself?
Outside of comedy, I love playing. I think it's so important to like play as an adult. Yeah. Like whether it's like I like to go biking, which I feel like is kind of like playing. I love playing soccer. Yeah. Me and my friends will go shoot hoops whenever the weather's nice. Go to my, hang out with my friends. New York City is a very social place. Okay. So even like whenever I'm hanging out with people, it's like kind of just like enjoying yourself. Outside of comedy, that's kind of my like. I'm very extroverted. Mm-hmm. I'm like constantly like wanting to have conversations, be around people, spend time with like friends and family.
Which is so interesting because that is, I would totally agree with that. But then you talk about, and that's why it's kind of, I guess, surprising that it took you a while to get on stage, or you say you have stage fright, or you don't want to talk to certain comedians because you don't want to make yourself look stupid. That is interesting.
You know what it is there's one situation where I shell up really bad, and it's whenever I feel like everybody else knows everyone else and I'm like an outsider coming in. Okay. And that situation, I've seen it multiple times in my life where I'm like, I do very badly. Like I get shy, I get awkward and weird.
And that, well, I mean, that's an objectively just tougher social situation.
It is a tougher. Yeah. Some people can like say, chest out, come introduce themselves to people, say what's up and like kind of assert themselves. It's not me. Yeah. So I think
that is interesting. That I think it's also pretty telling that you know that about yourself. Like that's an important thing to know.
It's just something I realized probably like in the last like 5 years or so. Yeah. But who I am, what's interesting is I had for a long time, like kept my social media. Like I didn't like do any comedy stuff on it or but I just recently, you saw that I posted that thing and it's felt good to like kind of mesh like personal life Humzah and like comedian Humzah together. Yeah. Because my friends have been so supportive, like crazy supportive.
Yeah, a bunch of them came out to the show on
Sunday. Yeah, at Zuma. Shout out JJ Wood. The question
I was asking how you do, because I said what you do outside of comedy. You said it's important to play and socialize, and I think that is very true. And then I was asking how you define yourself. Like, what do you base your inner worth on?
I think I'm like, I define myself in my like relationships with like how I make other people feel. Like I want people to be around me to feel good. Like I try to be positive. I just think like life is like, you can make most situations negative and positive. You know, it's like how you look at things, even the way you react to things, like you can let things get you down, or you can like kind of just be like, this will be fine if we like get through it. You know, we're going to get through it.
I've heard some good quotes on that where it's like life is 20% what happens to you, 80% how you react to it.
Love that.
Yeah. It's a good one.
Is that in the self-help book? Because I'm going to read it if it is.
I read that somewhere. I'm sure it's the book that it was in was not the creator of it. It's like, that's a very...
Yeah, general.
Yeah. Street joke, you know.
Yeah. So I guess like a positive person and just like someone who likes to enjoy themselves and like others to also enjoy themselves. Like I never try to be like someone who like picks on other people to like get laughs.
Yeah.
Dude, I really try to stay away from that stuff just because like I try to be inclusive also. I think that's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah. Where
it's like always make sure everyone feels, because of that same situation that I was just describing where it's like you're the one person who's not in the group and like you get shy. I think that's the reason I like try to be inclusive, because I know I've been on the other side of that.
That's a good way to look at it. Like like if you see someone, you're like, hey, what's up? How you doing?
I try to.
Yeah, that's cool.
There are some people that like make me anxious and I'm like, no, please don't.
So you mentioned that you like when you're around other people, you want them to have a good time. You want to uplift those around you. Do you think that that's kind of like a spectrum? Because you said also the dark side of that is, you know, that you have a tendency to try to be like a people pleaser.
Yeah.
So is that something you got to monitor?
Dude, I think it's something I've been better at lately. Like I've just been better at like, oh, this is like if somebody's asked me to do something, my intention is to always say yes. But sometimes it's like, oh no, I'm stressing myself out right now. Like whether it be like a time crunch or just like something I'm not like wanting to do.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be better at saying no. But even then,
so like this podcast, when you told me like, hey, I'm kind of not available and I'm really stressed, and I said, that makes you a pice of shit. And then you said yes. That was not a good situation.
Yeah, I'm going to press delete on this. I'm just joking. No, dude, I was actually excited to be on the podcast because I listened.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
I listened to the Brandon Kilo episode.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I really do love the podcast. So that's why, because I asked you earlier, like, what is your opinion on like the balance of it? Like, this is something that like I want to do, even if it's not at all successful, like forever. Because I so enjoy. Yeah. It's weird, like when you have these types of conversations. Yes, it's being recorded. We're trying to produce something for entertainment, but at the same time, how often do you like intentionally set your phone aside and have a multiple hour focused conversation?
Yeah.
It's like not often.
Not often enough.
Yeah, and I feel really like fun.
It used to be more, because even like when I'm hanging out with my friends, our phones are still out. Yeah. You know, we're like half present. We're having conversations with other people. It's like, it's almost important to unplug and just like be present in a situation as a comedian, especially. Yeah, because it's like a skill you have to be.
Like very in the room. I agree. I want to get better at that, because I think I'm always thinking about like my material, how I want to say something, how I want to do it, and I want to get better at like being in the room.
Dude, I'm right there with you.
You did at the show on Friday. Yeah. You did amazing, because one of my friends that I brought was being a total asshole. And you were doing like, that was amazing crowd interaction, feeling the room, understanding where to take it.
I was thinking about clipping it, but I was like, I don't know if that would be funny in a clip.
I think it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny. It's pretty good.
For what it's worth, the guy said something like, he was like, I forgot what I was talking about hunting, and he said, if it flies, it dies.
So he was just very drunk, and I don't know why he thought that it was funny, but he was just making like terrorist jokes throughout your set.
Yeah.
Like, 9/11,
Yeah, and he said that later. I was just like,
we're like, shut up. And so you said something about, like being, there was something, I don't know. And he said it was some sort of like reference, like towards being brown or something. He was like, if it flies, it dies. And then you said like, your response was perfect.
I was like, that's some terrorist shit to say.
Yeah. You're like,
I can't say that.
Yeah, that's what it was.
You can say that. I'm not going to say that.
You're like, imagine if I said that to a pilot. You know?
Yeah. Well, I was like, dude, I flew here. I took a plane here.
I loved then because everybody else thinks it's like this guy needs to shut up, and he's like, no, I'm being funny, I'm doing great. So he keeps yelling. He's like 9/11, and you're like, you think that's what I talk about? You think, like I hang out with my friends.
You think I just have 9/11 material? Like I don't have it.
I remember like something you said was like, you think I sit around with my friends, and I'm like, guys, remember that?
Yeah.
Like, wow,
9/11, dude.
We did it.
Classic. That's a classic. Pull it up on TV.
Oh my god.
Get the recording out. Get the 9/11 recording out so we can watch it again.
That made me think of a bit. I don't even know if this would be funny, but it would a bit idea like. I think it would be like somebody brown would have to do it because I don't know if it would hit as hard if I did it.
I'm ready.
But what if the idea was that 9/11 like was an accident and like it was just a couple of like kids from the Middle East who just like wanted to joyride in some airplanes, lost control, and then Al Qaeda claimed credit, and so they're like, fuck, like you know, like we goofed, and now it's become this, you know, global war on terror for the last 25 years.
Those kids really fucked their country over.
It was just a couple of the Al Qaeda, like they're in the rudimentary stages of trying to plan like, you know, one bus explosion. This happens and they're like, oh shit, like. We could just say that was us. Those guys died. Like we could just say it was us.
Yeah, they can't put out.
Yeah,
maybe they like had a video. They just like scrapped it. Like a video to be released, and they just like pull it out.
Yeah,
no.
I think that's like for some reason that concept makes me laugh.
There's something about I once said somebody told me I should say this on stage, but I didn't think it was. I don't know. We'll see. He was like. George Bush, like, you know how they say it's like an inside job?
Yeah.
It's like George Bush thought they said 7-Eleven. Like, he's like, yeah, get us one of those. Yeah. It's like, I don't know what to do with that.
This is such a dumb joke. I think it was like on Family Guy or something.
Yeah.
It's something about, it was saying like Hitler, like it was like a misunderstanding. He said something about like, get the juice, and somebody thought he said get the Jews. And somebody was so eager to please, they just went out and started like imprisoning Jews, and he's like, oh fuck, like, and so he's like too deep in, and he can't get out of it, so he's like, shit, I guess this is my thing now.
It's a tough spot to be in.
I think it was on Family Guy, and I thought that was really funny. But
Jews juice is that's a tough one. Yeah,
and it's like when they say it in a German accent, it sounds very similar.
Jews,
Jules, and it's like, oh well, you know, you could see how that would happen.
Do you ever have any like typos that have really effed you over?
On text, yes. Yeah, like on text for
sure. I just had one. What was yours?
The one that I do like get in the most often is like messing up can and can't. So like I'll say like, and it because like that one like because I think something with autocorrect, if you mess it up, sometimes it'll just change it to can't.
Yeah.
And it's like, so I'll try to say can't and it'll autocorrect, and it literally makes it the opposite of what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And then I don't know that I've said that, and so the rest of the conversation going back and forth, I'm like, is one of us like on crack? How are we not communicating? And then I'll scroll up and be like, oh, okay. You know, or if somebody else says like can and can't, and I'm like, I think they've messed it up. Kind of go through this whole thing of like trying to figure it out. I would say that's the most common one. Dude, what did you have? What happened to you?
The other day I was like working a freelance job, and I asked someone how to get paid.
I can see where this is going. They're close on the keyboard.
Yeah, dude. I typed late.
Yeah.
And that was just like embarrassing. I didn't notice either when I typed it. And they were like, you just ask. They're like, you send an email to this person. It's like, you meant paid, by the way, right? I was just like, oh, fuck.
You're like, only if they're not about it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like,
well, she had made a joke. She's like, we haven't come out with that part of our company yet.
Oh, that's cool.
So
she was cool about
like
it.
I was just like,
thank God.
That's a bad one.
That is really funny. I remember on a show I was watching one time, there was a guy that was like dating a girl, and it was like early in the relationship, and she said like, can I do this like with you later or something like that? Something like, hey, can I, just an innocent question. And he was trying to say, no, you can't. And he said, no, you cunt. And so the whole show is about them, because so she has like blocked him.
Yeah.
And so they're like trying to get through to her and like communicate like, no, I really like you.
Yeah.
I didn't mean that.
Yeah.
And it turned out that or like they thought she blocked him, and she was just in like the basement of a building having a meeting.
Gotcha.
And so the whole time they're like stalking her across the city, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I knew that was a typo." And, and she's like, "But the stalking is a little much. I don't think we should see each other." And he's like, "Shit."
Yeah.
So that was, I remember that being a funny one. But
That's funny.
But yeah, so we got these open mics starting soon. I think we'll wrap it there. But man, that was really fun. Next time you're back in town,
dude,
we got to do another.
Happy to do it. I had a good time.
We'll have to get a couple, like, because I tried a group episode with a couple other local comedians, and I messed it up, so it didn't end up working out. But it is really fun just to kind of get guys in here. So we'll do another one. But this has been Humzah. I'm going to say it. Is it Chaudhry?
Chaudhry.
I'm trying to say it correctly.
Yeah.
Humzah Chaudhry. Everybody, thank you very much. And
thanks for having me.
Oh shoot! Because like I said, I put the sound effects on these buttons.
Dude,
one of them is the outro.
Just press them.
Let's see what happens.
Tell me if
What's
it's the
this
right one.
This is okay. That's nothing. Hold on. This is. Why can I not hear
You would
these?
think.
It's this. Okay.
I was gonna say you'd think you'd have it at the top.
Oh, it's this. Okay, wait. Okay, yeah. Gosh, I'm fucking up. Oh shit.
There it is.
God damn. Wow. Okay. That's not what I was looking for.
We'll get it in editing.
Oh, there's creepy sound.
Creepy sound.
That's like da-na-na-na-na-na-na. That's another weird sound. Oh, that's rim shot. Yeah, one of those is the outro, but we'll just add it in the editing bay. We'll see you next time on the Cody Trout Pod.